talkSPORT Sports Update powered by the Nissan Van Range. Commercial vehicles built around your business. Search Nissan Vans or head to your local Nissan Van Centre.
With your headlines are just coming up to 2 minutes past 10. I'm Nick Ellaby. Good morning. We're told Thomas Frank will be in charge of Spurs at Burnley on Saturday. That's after the win over Dortmund. Our chief football correspondent Alex Crooks told us the board are still divided.
I think the key is how Tottenham react from here. If they go to Burnley and win and their away record by and large is good, then again you would imagine that Thomas Frank will stay on. But if they go there and lose to Scott Parker's team, who aren't exactly drunk in victories this season, then I think the pressure will be right back on again.
Meanwhile, Pep Guardiola says the dynamic at Man City has to change quickly following a 3-1 loss at Bodo Glimt. The Guardian's Manchester correspondent Jamie Jackson says Rodri's slowing them down.
He is a concern. Now, obviously, he's been injured for a long time. First with a serious knee injury and then sort of ones as he was getting back. But yeah, I mean, the third goal, the player just goes past him. You know, it's like he wasn't there.
A dream night, though, for Arsenal's Gabriel Jesus. He scored twice in the win over Inter, firing the Gunners to a place in the knockouts. Emma Raducanu is going to go away and re-evaluate her game. That's after crashing out the Australian Open in round 2. And Harry Brooks now said sorry to his England teammates for fighting with a New Zealand bouncer before the Ashes.
I've reflected a lot on what's happened, and I know it wasn't the right thing to do, and I want to say sorry to my teammates, to all the fans that travel far and wide to watch us, spend a lot of money on coming out to watch us play cricket and supporting us.
Ahead of the T20 World Cup, Brooke denies there's a drinking culture in the England side. Our ball-by-ball commentary of England's white ball tour of Sri Lanka starts tomorrow morning on talkSPORT 2 and our cricket YouTube channel.
talkSPORT News.
EU leaders are preparing for a day of tough talks on Greenland with Donald Trump, and UK inflation rises to 3.4%, driven by tobacco and airfares. More with Emma at past.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit. Whatever the winter weather, Bridgestone Turanza all-season 6 tyres, guaranteed for 25,000 miles. Book today at quickfit.com. Conditions apply.
Across Scotland, rain and a bit of hill snow before sunny spells this afternoon. Elsewhere, bands of rain are moving northeastwards and it's breezy.
Good morning, everybody. You're listening to Jim White, Simon Jordan and Danny Murphy, and we're live in talkSPORT. So Spurs edge towards the last 16 with a 2-0 win over Dortmund. Will it do anything to move the needle on Thomas Frank? Meanwhile, Manchester City easily beaten away to Bodo Glimt. Have they gone from the team of consistent heights to one of peaks and troughs? Also today, will an Emirates anxiety be a pro or a con for Arsenal's run-in? Can teammates become liabilities? What damage has Brooklyn done to Bex? From Maresca to Rosinha, is one man's trash another man's treasure? And will Morocco really take legal action over that Senegalese walkout? Jim White, Simon Jordan, Danny Murphy, and we're all live on talkSPORT.
100% engagement.
Jim White and Simon Jordan on talkSPORT.
My little paddle tennis friends are reunited. Now, I saw you walking in together. We watched your producer Luke and I watched you on CCTV arriving together, going to the lift in the foyer, and chatting away to each other and laughing. And then you walk in together. So it's the first time that I've had, the first opportunity I've had to ask you how it all went. So, Danny, this was your paddle tennis debut.
It was.
And you were partnering Lord Jordan against two of his friends. I'm surprised he found two. But how'd it go?
I enjoyed it, actually. I can confirm that Simon's very good. Better than I anticipated. No, he is.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Credit where credit's due. And actually, amazingly, he was really supportive when I had my bad moments. and there was a few. It's not ideal. If anyone's going to take up paddle, I wouldn't recommend playing with 3 really talented players. Well, 2.5. And I think you learn quite quickly that it's not as easy as it looks when you see it on the telly.
And what kind of moment did you have?
One in particular where I thought I was a bit younger and quicker. And I ended up stacking it, but the will was there.
Okay.
And I've still got the scars on my knees to prove it, but no, it was thoroughly enjoyable. It's great for fitness. I mean, I didn't expect to get that much of a sweat on. I mean, it's non-stop.
Okay.
I thought it was a bit like tennis where you'd have a break on each odd game.
Right.
And it's just carry on.
And is he any use?
Yeah, he's good.
Is it?
Competitive, yeah.
Right.
He took up a lot of the slack, but fortunately there was a younger guy on the opposite side who probably was the best of the 4.
Again, video analysis. Luke and I were looking at some of the key moments, and it certainly was competitive. How did he do?
He did well. He's a former Premier League footballer, so he has a competitive spirit.
Yeah.
And his expectations for himself were his biggest disappointment because he expected to go on the court and to be able to do certain things, which he will be able to do, because if that's his first outing on a paddle tennis court, if he plays a bit more, he'll be really good.
Right.
He'll be really good. He'll be much better than the John Terrys of the world and people like that that run around giving it the big and about how good they are.
Okay, all right. And just to be clear, you lost.
We did, but we got better in each set.
Well, hold on. We lost the first set quite convincingly, but the second set we didn't actually finish. I think we were 5-4 down.
No, we lost the second set 6-4. We were 5-4 down in the third.
Okay.
Oh, was it the third?
Yeah.
Sorry.
All right. Well, let's not overdo it. I mean, we're interested.
The tiredness has got me memory.
Yeah, well done. And well done, Lucy and Megan, your opponents on that day, two of the girls that work in the show. I believe you were about to be taken to a third set, but the court was booked and somebody else...
You ever seen him do any sport?
No, he's all talk, mate.
Have you ever seen him do any sport?
He told me once that he played some golf and was getting decent, but I've never heard anything.
You hear stories about rugby in the 1920s that he played, but other than that, we never hear or never see, do we?
That was me running down the beach in St Andrews with Eric Liddell.
Did you play football as a kid, Jim? Did you play football
it's
as
a fire.
I did not. I was at a rugby playing school in Glasgow. Kelvinside Academy for all those Glaswegians who are listening.
School, I assume?
No. We were day boys.
Oh, okay.
And I was useless. But anyway, I enjoyed it. That's amazing. And as you rightly say, Danny, as long as you enjoy it. And
No, he doesn't enjoy it if he doesn't win.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
So his competitive spirit and his frustration was very prevalent, but that's great because you want people that want to compete, don't you? And as a former Premier League footballer, that's what you expect to see.
You don't just want to take part in anything.
No, you want to win, don't you?
No, I agree.
That's why you don't take anything, because you never can win.
Well, let me tell you, Simon, if you're looking for a partner and Danny can't make it next time,
someone to peel the oranges about your level.
Either Megan or Lucy, I would suggest would be an able partner for you. Well done to Tottenham Hotspur. Well done, Thomas Frank. You got the win, you got the result, and I think that takes a bit of the heat off you for the time being. So Spurs edged towards the Champions League last 16 last night, a 2-0 win over Borussia Dortmund, 10 men Borussia Dortmund, a timely win. Should it move the needle on Thomas Frank, do you think, Simon?
It depends what you think the needle is about. It's about some noise because his team hasn't been performing well. So the background noise has been there because if you lose to West Ham and you lose some of the games that they lose, you're going to get heat on you. Now, what he's done is he's won a game that a lot of people think that they weren't going to win. I thought they had a chance in this game. I'd be delighted if the caller in Monday wants to ring in and have his 2 penny, the one that was going to tell us exactly what was going to happen after the Dortmund game.
We'll come to that.
Game. We probably won't be hearing hide nor hear from him.
No, good
but
point.
I thought Spurs, it isn't the case they beat 10-men Borussia Dortmund. They were beating Dortmund already. They were already better in the game. They were already establishing the way that they were going to play. They were already dominating the game. Dortmund got a player sent off. But notwithstanding that, Spurs were already good in that game. Had already started with the right attitude, the right outlook, front foot football, and the fans were good. The fans coming into the stadium, and Danny was there, I think. Were supporting their team. They may not be well supporting the manager right now, but that's up to him to give them something to cheer about, and he's given them something to cheer about in that game.
Are we at the point, Danny, of it feeling like a club and manager, but one defeat away from crisis? Are we still at that point?
Well, a little bit, aren't we? Because Burnley's next, and that's the type of game Tottenham fans expect not to lose. They're still in trouble. He needs to go on a little run, although the fixtures after Burnley are really difficult. I think he's got to take some credit for last night. Some people are trying to say that, he only had 11 players to pick, so it just kind of looked after itself. No, he still set them up in a 3-4-3, matched them up. He played Jed Spence left wing back and Udogie left centre half, which I thought was the wrong way round when I saw them set up, because my feeling of watching both over the years is Udogie's better going forward and more balanced on that left side. But Spence was absolutely superb in the first half.
Didn't
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, the decision second half, which while I was doing the commentary, and sometimes hindsight's a wonderful thing, I was thinking, go on, get after them, press, go and get the third. And actually, they managed the game really well. They didn't need to go and press and take the risk.
Yeah.
So he deserves credit for that. But one swallow doesn't make a summer. Their home form's been disastrous.
Well, we'll get to that. Let's get to Thomas, because obviously, post-match, yeah, it was a win, and he needed it.
What I feel the whole time is that I feel the staff is with us. I think the players are with us, the ownership, everyone want the same thing, and we're on the same page, and we do a lot of things in the right direction. And today it was a big performance and a big win. Of course, I'm very aware of that. But also very aware that this we have done, we need to keep that consistency, and of course turn that a little bit with this, as I say, some of the other games we easily could have won. Now we need to build on this, and I just see a team that is running very, very hard, and I think that's a very, very good sign. That's a healthy sign of a culture, and we are building something a little bit step by step, and we can easily have got better results the last 3 games. We just didn't, but we're running hard.
It's a good sign in terms of the culture, Danny, that they're running hard. I mean, I would have thought that's the very least that they can do on the field of play.
Yeah, that's prerequisite, isn't it? I mean, silly line in some respects, but when there's a flippant phrase used by people where they say, "Oh, you know, the players look like they were playing for him," and that's running hard. I mean, players, they've got some self-respect. They've got to play. They've got to run hard for themselves. Otherwise, they're not going to play, are they?
Yeah,
they're going to get hammered by the fans. But I don't see a problem. There is some suggestion that some of the players aren't having him, but when you're losing games, there's always this little clique of players that will be against the manager, because they'll be saying his training's crap and he doesn't know what he's doing, because they're not playing, they're not getting the game time they want, and that's just every club. That's just the way it is. I think there's been a lack of quality in certain games, you know, a lack of belief. And when you lose so many home games and the fans are so disgruntled, it takes real high-quality players to overcome that and make it right.
Well, so many home games. Danny's hitting something there, Simon. I didn't know this until this morning. At home in the Premier League, 4 wins in 25 games. At home in Europe for Tottenham Hotspur, 24 games unbeaten. Now, work that out, if you will. Simon, is Europe providing some form of stability? If so, why?
Well, it did for Ange Postecoglou. I mean, we were listening to a caller taking me to task about the fact that the Europe finishing 17th in the Premier League was a narrative that was played out by the media to whip Tottenham, and ultimately you can judge them by by the European competitions that they were in. I don't know. Danny might be able to speak to it better in terms of what style of football that, you know, there's an idea that I listened to Owen Hargreaves last night, and I like Owen, and he was talking about the next set of games that Spurs had, and he said, well, actually, these are tough games, but actually Spurs sometimes do better without the ball, and by that he meant not dominating possession.
Yeah.
And when they do get too much possession, that's when they start to fall apart a little bit.
Right.
When they play the next set of group, and it might be that in the European competitions, it might be that they play against better opposition that has more of the ball, and so subsequently Spurs. But in last night's performance, I don't think it mattered who they got. I mean, Dortmund are a form side. They're second in the Bundesliga. They score goals for fun.
Yeah.
And for the first 20 minutes, the Spurs were at them. And when they lost they've got their player sent off, Spurs were ripping them to pieces.
Well, I'm going to put it out there, Simon, because you know the number 03717 223344. How can 2 different competitions in the exact same venue produce such dramatically different results? And I told you the stats. At home in the Premier League, 4 wins in 25 for Tottenham Hotspur. At home in Europe, 24 games unbeaten.
It's a simple answer to it, Jim.
Go on.
They're playing much less against less quality, other than last night. You know, they've beaten Slavia Prague, Copenhagen, Villarreal, and 90% of the home games in Europa League were against average teams.
But this goes back 6 years.
Yeah.
The reasons why I didn't make the opposition analysis, because I think there must be some big names in and amongst that 6-year period where they've played 20-odd games in Europe. They've had some big names there, Dan.
Simon, you mentioned the caller the other day. Matt, good morning. Where are you? You might remember Matt had a bit of a joust with Simon the other day. If you missed it, here he was.
He ain't going to beat Burnley, and he definitely isn't going to beat Dortmund.
You don't know that.
And I'm telling Well, listen, you know and I know we're watching the same game. He ain't going to survive because he's got the fans are on his back. The guy chews gum like a cow. He's desperate. He doesn't know where he's going to come in. He just wants to get sacked.
Can you phone in?
Does it calm you down?
Can you phone in on Wednesday? If they beat Dortmund, I want to hear you and your bloody nonsense coming on Wednesday, because you've just told us you're not going to beat Dortmund. Because we listen to you come on every single time and you talk a load of old drivel and it's boring.
Rubbish.
So, Matt, good morning. And here's a challenge for you. You up for it? Where are you this morning? Does last night's result move the needle on Thomas Frank as far as you're concerned to any great degree? I kind of think I know the answer to it, but let's hear it from you. 03717 223344. It's not very normal that we call out a caller specifically to give us a ring. But Matt, do it. Let's see what you're made of. 03717 223344. The morning after the night before, when Spurs won. My goodness, not so much Tottenham fans, Man City fans getting in touch this morning. I'm looking at some of the messages. There's one, no name in it. Guys, we were dreadful last night. Of course, Manchester City and Norway lost 3-1 to Bodo Glimt. We have major issues to sort out. We'll get to that. We'll get to that in a moment. There's a bit of a pile-on again, and that's fine by us because the more callers, the better on this show. We love it in the mornings. 03717 223344. Many Tottenham fans calling in regards the win last night against Borussia Dortmund in the Champions League and where it leaves Thomas Frank now going into the game at the weekend at Burnley in the Premier League. Surprisingly, or is it surprising, Simon? No sign of Matt. Matt, who was really shouting his mouth off the other day. Where are you this morning, Matt? Can't get your tongue? Give us a shout. 03717 223344. Stevie, big Tottenham fan. Good morning to you. Has it moved the needle for you on Thomas Frank in any way?
I called the show in August, Jim, and I said it wouldn't last to Christmas, and it's certainly gone that way. Simon, I hope you're feeling better, pal.
Thank you, mate.
It sounded not too good yesterday, but glad you made it in. But I think it's a player mentality thing, Jim. Obviously, I've been following Spurs for over 40 years, and we lost more games to both of the league than we beat more teams who are top of the league.
Yeah.
And it's tough for them, but they know that if they make a mistake against a better quality player, you will get punished. And then again, taking it for granted, maybe Danny can help me out when you go on and you say, we're only playing such and such, or no one a game, or, I mean, we find it tough to raise our game, play that A game that gets us the 3 points, and then before you know it, last year we were 17, not being we done well the year before, but then we finished 8th, and we're certainly gone.
So Stevie, if you go to Burnley at the weekend and you win, it's all fine. It's all fine again, is it?
No, it's a player mentality, Jim, that you can, again, Simon uses the term paper near the cracks. Listen, I only coach amateur football, and I have lost more games to both of the league because my boys would go on at Belgrove and say, Gaffer, they're both of the league, man, we should work in the draft for them. And next thing you know, you're 4-0 down. So it's a player mentality thing. They can blame injuries and things like that, but how can the injuries not affect us in the European Champions League competition?
Yeah.
But yet we go out, Carabao Cup, FA Cup, and Premier League, and we can't put two passes together.
Okay, Stevie, listen, good call. Thank you so much for calling us again. No sign of Matt. What about Ed? Ed, good morning. Where are you at with this? Has it moved the needle on Thomas Frank?
Good morning. I don't necessarily think my needle never really changed towards Thomas Frank. I actually felt I listened to the game on the radio after my son had a game on Saturday against West Ham, and I think at that point I was in slight disarray. But I actually think Noyes just needs to calm down a little bit. I feel that actually I think that Thomas Frank makes a lot of sense. I think that he needs to be given more time. I don't feel that there's an easy fix. I think at the moment our squad is depleted and decimated. We've also got an incredibly young squad. If you look at that midfield, they're trying to invest time in, the likes of Bergvall, the likes of Archie Gray. They're young men, and they're sort of at the forefront at the beginning of their offshoots of their career currently. And I feel that everybody, the noise around it is it's overinflated, it's over sensationalized, and I think if we just take a step back and just let this man get on with his job, then good things might happen.
Ed, I kind of agree, but it's not overinflated, is it? At home in the Premier League, 4 wins in 25.
Well, yes, of course, that is a poor showing. But we were in this position last season and under a completely different manager, and went on to do pretty good things in Europe. Yes, albeit it's not the higher echelons of Champions League football that we're currently competing in. But and you make a very good point, Jim. I don't disagree, but I also don't believe in this sort of high turnover of managers. We've all said that Thomas Frank is a very good manager. I was excited about when he came in the summer. I genuinely believe if you give the guy time and let him have a full season, there's no obvious replacement. There's nobody that can come in.
Fair play, Ed. I mean, Simon, it's a sensible call from Ed, isn't it?
I think it's absolutely a sensible
So
call.
do I.
If you look at Tottenham, put aside the result against Dortmund, they were going okay in the Champions League. They're 14th in the Premier League, which is not ideal, but they're not that far away from being at the higher end of the Premier League because there's only a few 5-6 points between that opportunity.
Yeah.
They got knocked out of the EFL Cup by the holders, Newcastle, away to Newcastle, and they got knocked out.
Played right in that game.
And they played okay in that game. They got knocked out by Aston Villa in the FA Cup, who are currently sitting second or third in the league. So when you look at the fact they're out of this tournament, out of that tournament, you've got to take into consideration who they've played and the actual nuance. I think it's clear, and I'm not sure that they will give him the time, but I think they should be giving him the time. Now he can't build some momentum by beating Borussia Dortmund, getting some energy behind the belief system that will help him fuel the players and the dissenting voices in his dressing room by winning games. If he goes to Burnley and they don't do a job at Burnley, because this result against Borussia Dortmund is worth nothing if it isn't compounded
if they go to Burnley and lose.
Getting a result against Burnley.
Yeah. Nick, take us to the break at 10:30. Good morning, big Tottenham Hotspur fan. No sign of Matt, but Nick, you're more than an able replacement. What do you think of last night? Has it moved the needle on Thomas for you?
Hello, boys.
Good morning, Nick.
Hello. I don't think it's moved the needle for me. Losing that many games at home and the way we've performed, I don't think it's on. I don't think it's on for a club like Tottenham Hotspur to play the way we have. Is not for me, really. You've got to remember, guys, 2 years ago, we played Chelsea at home. We lost 4-1 and fans were clapping the players off because we had a go. We can't keep losing all these games at home. It's not for me, guys.
Yeah, fair enough. Nick not having it. I wonder what it would have been like this morning, Danny, if it would have been a full-scale pile-on had the result gone against them last night.
Well, the noise would have got louder, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
I think Thomas Frank has been a little bit unlucky because obviously the start of the season, the good stuff was away from home and the bad stuff was at home. And trying to appease the masses of your supporters is generally done at home and they'll forgive away results a little bit more. And then what he's done, he's been tweaking the personnel and even tweaking the system to try and arrest that bad run of form at home and get some results. So the fans aren't seeing a particular identity, whether it's pragmatic counter-attack, whether it's front foot football. And there's nothing wrong with being adaptable. I think it's good sign of management to be able to try different things. But at the moment, I think one of the arguments I'm hearing a lot with Tottenham friends of mine is more not really sure what he's trying to do. Don't know if he knows his best team.
Right.
But there are reasons for that. And I think give him till the end of the season.
Give him to the end of the season, you say, Danny. What do you know? Matt, good morning.
Morning, guys.
Good morning.
Yeah.
Is it really you, Matt?
Yeah, it is, mate. Yeah.
Okay, Matt from the other day. Matt.
I had a bit of a late night last night due to being at over there at the stadium.
Celebrating the win?
No, not me, mate. To be honest with you, I just put on talkSPORT and I heard my name pop up, and that just enough gets me on. I'll be honest with you, that I don't get washed with, and I said I'll call back, and I'm a man of my word. And to be honest with you, that last night, it don't wash with me. The reality of the moment is there's no pressure of the Premier League, and we all know, like Simon said earlier, because I put it on at the point when he said, if they beat Dortmund, and they don't go and follow it up with Burnley, which, let's be honest, Burnley just kept Liverpool at a draw and Man United at home on a draw, and they're playing a very, very, very poor Spurs side. I honestly, at best, it'll be a draw. Now, right now, I was thinking about this last night, and I was having a chat with a few Spurs fans. How many transfer windows do you think Tottenham Hotspur need to get back to that level of what we had in 2019? How many transfer windows? And bear in mind, we're getting older now. Do you know what I mean? And my kids, for my kids to say we didn't even watch it last night. You got Harry Redknapp turning around and saying he wouldn't pick one of his team in 2010 in what today's team is. And that was a good team. It wasn't a great team. And this is where we're at.
You remember the other day, though, Matt, you had a full-on rant, and you were telling me that there was no chance that Spurs would beat Borussia Dortmund. So they did.
Of course. Listen, I stick to my word, but you've got to look at who turned up. That wasn't. If that
well,
wasn't,
you turned up. You watched it.
Listen, I didn't even watch it. I'll be honest with you. It's a group stage.
You were at the game. You didn't watch it.
Look, Look, Matt, I had somebody say to me the other day, who did you beat in the Europa League? You didn't have no one. Yeah, granted, we won it. And I said, well, we beat Bodo Glimt. And he laughed. And Bodo Glimt went and beat Man City yesterday. So group stages, let's be honest, Real Madrid didn't even finish in the top 8 last year.
This is the old Matt we'll love. Come on, Matt. You're cranking it up now. You're getting going now.
No, Simon, Tottenham Hotspur is on its knees. You know and I know. We've got a goalkeeper that I don't even know. I could say a lot of things about him. We've got left back and right back that shouldn't be there. Van der Ven and Romero. I'll be honest with you, they're not going to be there at the end of the season. As for Van der Ven, and I'll say this on air, the guy is a disgrace for the way he behaved towards Spurs, paying Spurs fans. Going all that way. He was a disgrace for the way he behaved.
If you go to Burnley on Saturday and win, will you come on Monday, Matt? I know we're asking a lot at the moment.
No, without a shadow of a doubt, mate. Without a shadow of a doubt, I'll go. But what's going to change, Jim? I need you to tell me.
But you asked the question, and you asked about how many transfer windows it will take to change the culture of the club or to bring in players. That would also dovetail into which manager's there to be able to do it, because there's no good having transfer windows if you have an inconsistent approach from the senior management towards its management in the dugout.
We had this conversation, Simon, about Oliver Glasner when I pointed that out to you, right? Simon,
You're not related to Lawrence Bassini, are you?
Thomas Frank, right? Thomas Frank, you know, Simon, and I love everybody that gives it all I'll give him a chance. And you know, I know he's not the right manager for Tottenham Hotspur. Regardless what anybody says,
that's what you think. That's what you think.
Yeah, but Conte wasn't, Mourinho wasn't, Nuno wasn't. It's like, when are they going to give somebody a chance? He might fail.
Matt, he might fail. But in all seriousness, mate, I congratulate you for making the call, and I appreciate it. Come back on Monday, because we're only getting to know you, Matt. It's the early stages of our relationship. Just gone 10:30.
We're told Thomas Frank is set to be in charge of Spurs at Burnley on Saturday. The under-fire head coach insists he is building something.
Now we need to build on this. And I just see a team that is running very, very hard. And I think that's a very, very good sign. That's a healthy sign of a culture. And we are building something a little bit step by step.
The win over Dortmund leaves Tottenham 4th in the Champions League table. Meanwhile, Pep's told us the dynamic at Man City needs to change quickly. They lost 3-1 at Bodo Glimt and will need to beat Galatasaray next week to avoid a February playoff. No such worries for Arteta's Arsenal, though, who talkSPORT's Alvin Martin says could rival the Invincibles.
Every player that he brings on is full of confidence. Every player that he takes off and he gets it right. You know, they don't complain because they all buy into what he's trying to do.
Meanwhile, Harry Brooks said sorry for that altercation with a nightclub bouncer ahead of a disastrous Ashes tour, and he's backed Brendan McCullum to stay in a job.
He's the best head coach I've had by a million miles. He makes you feel like you can go out there and do anything. He gives you the freedom to do anything.
And Emma Raducanu will go away and reevaluate her game after crashing out of the Aussie Open in round 2. More at talksport.com.
Good morning, everybody. It is Wednesday morning. That means Danny is alongside Simon and myself, and he's with us all the way through, as we are, until 1 o'clock. If you're watching on your TV, and so many of you watch the show now, which is great, because we wondered how that would go down. It's going down an absolute storm. You can see us on Samsung, LG, Fire TV, Google TV, even Prime Video. Wherever you want to watch the show, you can. We are here for you. So, Bodo Glimt. Simon, Bodo Glimt. Now, messages coming in right, left, and centre on Bodo Glimt. Just for those who don't know, and there must be a few of you, Manchester City's opponents last night in the Champions League up in Norway, Bodo Glimt. Bodo Glimt beat Manchester City by 3-1. I'll give you a flavour of some of the messages in a moment. But this was not expected, was it? And then post-match, Pep was pretty pessimistic about where it's taken them.
The feeling that, the result in 2025 is not good. So in terms of the Premier League and now today, but it's, move forward. So we have 4 days for Wolves and after Galatasaray to try to, we'll see what happened. Today was an incredible opportunity for us, but everything is the feeling that is going wrong, is going, against in many, many details, and that is a fact, and you have to try to change it, but the players are there and we tried.
The results since 2025 have not been good.
Oh dear. Just go buy the best winger from Bournemouth and go and buy the best centre-back from Palace. That'll fix it for you.
Well, that's right. Just before we leave Bodo Glimt, this is Jay in Lewisham. Good morning, Jay. Sam and Jordan Jim showed open contempt for Bodo Glimt on talkSPORT on Monday, mocking their Europa League semi-final run and sneering at the competition. Yesterday, Bodo Glimt didn't just compete, they outplayed one of Europe's most successful sides. 100% you don't read out this message. 100% Jay, I did and just have.
Context. What I did was I was debating with a caller about the lack of attainment from Tottenham finishing 17th in the league, and it needed to be a benchmark. And he was saying, look at the Europa League, look at what we've done in Europe. It was clear the reasons why we sacrificed the league. And I said, if you win a competition by beating Bodo Glimt in the semi-finals, it tells you the level of that competition. Now, Bodo Glimt beat Man City last night with Erling Haaland coming off the field and saying that was embarrassing.
Yeah.
So they think it was at a level. Bodo Glimt have never won a Champions League game. That was their first one. And the only other team they've beaten of any significance, of real significance in European football, was Roma 4 or 5 years ago, where they gave them a thumping. So I don't think it's wrong to be relatively dismissive of Bodo Glimt in the context of a conversation where a Spurs fan is saying to me, you have to look at what's happening to Spurs. The reasons why they finished 17th is because of this, and look what they did in the Europa League. Yeah. So it wasn't disdainful or dismissive of Bodo Glimt per se. It was looking at the argument that was presented to me by a Tottenham fan and using Bodo Glimt as a highlighting point that they aren't a top side. They might have beat Man City yesterday.
Yeah.
But that's the first time they've ever won a Champions League game. So I think I'm within my rights to make
I reckon so. You're right. They're far from a top side. But well done to them, because they took the scalp of Pep and Manchester City last night in their own backyard. But here's the thing, though, Danny. Manchester City, have they gone from a team of consistent heights to one of peaks and troughs? The reason I ask, November brought 4 wins and 2 defeats. December brought a seamless month of 7 wins from 7. January so far, 3 draws, 2 wins, 2 defeats. Up and down, peaks and troughs. What are we getting?
Well, I think you're just looking at a squad that needs all its best players fit to be consistent. Whereas in the past, Man City could change a few and still dominate teams and win game after game after game. The defensive unit, which had that really good run that you're talking about, was Núñez, Diaz, Guardiola, O'Reilly as a back four, which creates some stability and consistency. That hasn't been there for the last few weeks. All 4 of them haven't played. O'Reilly's been in and out midfield and dropped back in, but that back four has been completely dismantled. You've got Kusanov, Alain, Ait-Nouri, Lewis, all these different changes at the back. And I don't care how good your squad is, that's going to cause a problem. The other thing as well that's happened to them, unfortunately for Rodri, is he doesn't look anything like what he was when he won the Ballon d'Or. And when Nico Gonzalez was playing in there, when they won all those games, he's got an injury as well. So you're looking at their 5 with Donnarumma, so 6 defensive unit. The 5 of them haven't played for the majority of those games recently that they're struggling with, and they just don't have the same quality coming in, hence the fact they've gone and bought Gay, when probably, if Guardiola and Diaz hadn't got injured, they wouldn't have gone in for him.
Right. But now Gay's arrival could be significant in itself.
To a degree.
Because by God, they need him.
They do, but their inconsistency that you're talking about ain't going to go away anytime soon. Haaland looks knackered. Different player than I was watching 6-8 weeks ago in terms of his physicality, running about, knocking people about, running in behind, coming to feet. Just physically doesn't look anywhere near. Maybe because he plays him all the time. They haven't got a backup striker. Play him in games where they don't need him, when they're already winning.
In a run-in, Danny, we are used to Manchester City bursting towards the finish line.
Not going to happen.
Is that coming?
No. Arsenal are too strong, too consistent, too good, got better strength and depth. Not going to happen. Arsenal, even if Arsenal lost 3 games, even if they did, which is possible between now and then, unlikely but possible, City aren't going to win every game.
Right.
They're too open.
So, Simon, have we now, without really realising it, seen Pep at his peak?
Well, he won 4 Premier League titles in a row. He's not going to repeat that.
No.
So I think probably the answer to that, in its most binary terms, is yes. Is he capable of rebuilding a side? Well, he's certainly been given the tools all the time, isn't he? I know that Danny talks about the loss of certain players. Every club loses certain players. Every club loses key.
Yeah, but my point is, in the past, it didn't bother them as much.
No, but that's upon him now. But he's also given enormous amounts of resource to be able to
make
support
that
opportunity.
Yeah.
Some clubs don't have that opportunity. He now has gone back into the marketplace and bought Gehi. Now, whether that's because the 2 other defenders that Danny were talking about are injured, or whether that's because they can. They can. So, and even if it isn't because of that, and it's an opportunity because they're injured, they still can, and they did. Right? And they lured him, and were able to get him because they're Manchester City and Pep Guardiola. They've gone and got Semenya. I have zero pity for that little observation about things are going wrong. You're a very highly paid manager. You've done a marvellous job for Manchester City. You've been given all the tools to do it, and now it's about the next generation of Man City and rebuilding. And that's what Ferguson did repeatedly with Man United, which was keep on regenerating. When rivals came in and competitors came in and maybe took what Man United considered to be theirs, the Premier League, away from them, United rebuilt and reinvented themselves.
Yeah.
He built a team that was so dominant, that's the dominance I don't think we've ever seen in English football, that there probably was only one way it was down. Now he needs to arrest that slump. He's arrested elements of it, but he needs to arrest it, and he needs to probably arrest the barrenness of the trophy cabinet. Now, he might do that by winning the League Cup again.
Yeah.
That might be one of the opportunities, and probably that will be the case. But as far as winning the Premier League is concerned, Danny doesn't need me to support him in this argument. It's well rehearsed from my point of view.
Ain't going to happen.
Arsenal are going to win this league.
I've got no pity either, by the way. I wasn't suggesting that.
No.
It's his job to keep Haaland fresh. It's his job to rotate that squad so everybody stays fresh and ready, and they don't have that tired look.
But Danny, it was only weeks ago that Didi Hamann said Pep won't win a Champions League or a Premier League title again, and eyebrows were raised at that. Maybe he was right.
Mate, I saw him last night. Actually, he loves a strong comment, doesn't he? He's a great lad. I don't think that's a wild accusation. I mean, the reality is, City with everyone fit and playing well, are still capable of winning the Champions League. Make no bones about that. I don't think they will, but they're capable.
Okay.
They can beat anybody on the day.
We'll put it out there to Manchester City fans listening this morning. Many of you calling in at the moment. So if you fancy it, we'll take a sample of the calls that are coming in. 03717 223344. Manchester City, how come it's got to this? You've gone from a team of consistent heights to one of peaks and troughs. How come? Give us a call.
The Australian Open update on talkSPORT with TNT Sports. Stream every set live on Discovery Plus or watch TNT Sports channels on EE, Sky and Virgin Media. Subscription required. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
The Australian Open tennis now well underway, and we enjoy getting an update from this fella. Watching for us is Will Hobbs. Will, good morning.
Good morning, Jim. Yes, we've been dealt something of a cliffhanger in Melbourne from a British perspective. The rain arrived in a deluge midway through a fourth-set tie-break involving Britain's last remaining hope, Cam Norrie, who's currently stranded 3 points from victory. It's been a cracking contest against the hard-hitting, effervescent American Emilio Nava. Norrie took the first 2 sets, lost the third, and the fourth set is going right down to the wire. The home favourite, Alex de Minaur, is level at 1-1 with unseeded Hamad Medjedovic, but the Aussie is 4-1 up in the third. Emma Raducanu's injury-plagued build-up came back to bite her as she surrendered a first-set lead to be soundly beaten by Anastasia Potapova. And Arthur Ferry, the 23-year-old British qualifier, couldn't back up his shock first-round victory as he was outclassed by Argentina's Thomas Martin Echeverry. So Cam Norrie, the last of the Brits, is waiting for the rain to stop because he needs 3 points to reach round 3.
Well, thank you very much indeed. We're talking Manchester City going to Norway last night and losing by 3-1 to Bodo Glimt, a team's name that I enjoy saying for some obscure reason. Robin Colchester, don't worry, Rob, don't worry. Jim, good morning. I've only just tuned in. Did I miss Simon's apology to Bodo Glimt for the derogatory comments he made about them to a Tottenham Hotspur supporter yesterday? It turns out they're not so bad after all, says Rob from Colchester.
Does it make you laugh that all these people that don't actually support this club are offended on behalf of this club? It amazes me. It's just a way of making a point, isn't it? No, I didn't apologise for observing that Bodo Glimt were a European minnow.
Can you remember the last time you apologised to anybody for anything?
Great question. What a question, yes. Dan.
But so rarely am I wrong that I don't have...
well, that's what that hence the question.
Can you remember?
Yes. What do you mean? I apologise all the time. No, because I've never...
2014 or something like that, probably.
I got an apology in this very studio, Danny, and you witnessed it.
Did you win?
When he had a fearsome outburst at me.
Yeah.
In the early stages of the show.
All right, I'll rephrase it. Have you ever done a genuine apology?
It was a John Cleese moment. Like
I remember the row, yeah. It was quite awkward. It's quite awkward.
I apologise unreservedly for the way I spoke to you. Anyway, we move on. We'll talk Arsenal very shortly. But Manchester City, what is going on? Going from a team of consistent heights to one of peaks and troughs. What's going on? Paul, Manchester City fan, good morning to you. Where are you at with it?
Morning, you okay? The question I wanted to ask this morning was to Danny, the next footballer. To me, it just seems that we're complicating matters quite often. So, for instance, last night, playing a left-back at right-back, a right-back in centre midfield, and a midfielder at left-back. And I just think there's been so many instances this year, particularly. I know we've had the injuries, I totally get that. But I just think sometimes you're just making matters a lot worse by doing things that he keeps doing, in terms of changing the tactic of the team and making it even harder from the offset.
That's a good point from Paul, isn't it?
The problem is with that, Paul, the problem is with that is he's always been a tinkerer. He's always been trying to, do something a bit different. And sometimes he's been, it's gone against him when you think of Champions League final, he lost and the team selection and stuff like that. But on the flip side, it's probably kind of why he's always a step ahead and has had the success he's had. So it's a difficult one to be too critical. But I hear you.
Yeah, but it's, even go back to the weekend with the derby, you got Doku out wide on the left, absolutely no support from Ake behind him, and yet you've got Norrie sat on the bench who's quite adventurous going forward. You've got a young kid at centre half who's right-footed playing on the left. Surely you'd put Ake in the middle there, left-footed, natural, and experienced.
He did that later on in the game.
I just think these things that he's doing now are starting to really hit home that maybe we're not actually as good as we used to be.
Do you know one of the things that's got me watching them recently, because they are struggling a bit, but they'll get the ball and a team will drop off. And the ball goes wide and they'll make a little bit of space. You don't even have to beat somebody. They'll have good support, good numbers up, nice possession. They don't put crosses in the box. They don't cross the ball.
Yeah.
And it's unbelievable. Like the City of old used to get in behind, you see pullbacks, De Bruyne would be whipping balls in. Not all the time, he still wanted to play, but at the moment it's so exaggerated. Pass, try and find the perfect goal. Haaland's body language, when you watch him in the last few weeks, he kind of gets so frustrated, his body language gets more lethargic and he starts becoming frustrated. You can see it.
Yeah.
And he stops making the runs. Yeah. And he becomes static because he thinks it's not coming.
Simon, you noticed that caller Paul wanted to put these football points to Danny, who's a football person.
Absolutely right. A football player.
A football player, as opposed to you and I.
Absolutely right.
I get it. Steve, big Man City fan. Steve, take us up there. Where's your head with your club at the moment, with your team?
Good morning, Simon and Danny.
Morning.
And the other fella there.
Good morning.
Basically, I don't think we're as good as what we used to be.
No, that's true.
We bought Semenyo, who he's a great player for Brentford. For Bournemouth, sorry, going forward. Fast and all that. Give it a few games, he won't have that because Guardiola will take that out of him. The players, they're not as good as what they used to be. Phil Foden, I think he's peaked. He's living on past glories. He's not doing any. He played a few good games at the start of the season. He's not done anything since. I used to think, why is he not playing for England? But he's not good enough. He's made it. He's on big money now, and he's not bothered. Feel sorry for Ireland. Like you said there, we can't put a cross in the box.
I mean, Foden doesn't peak at 25, Danny, does he?
No, but he's not hit the heights we know he can. I mean, he makes a good point. I don't think they're as good. When you think of the City team that was winning titles, I mean, De Bruyne is obviously one of the best midfielders we've ever seen. Kyle Walker, one of the best right-backs the Premier League's ever had. John Stones, nice and composed at the back, been around the block. Rodri at his best.
Yeah.
They're not as good as, even with everyone fit, they're not as good as they were. He's right. The quality's dropped.
Danny, are those players that you mentioned, are they not as good? Or is Pep not as good?
No, the players aren't as good as the one. They're not as good a team as they were when they won in the league that spell consistently. Even people like, Bernardo Silva's an absolute legend. What a player! Play anywhere, intelligent footballer, brilliant footballer. But he's not at the heights he was 2 or 3 years ago when they were winning the treble. He was unbelievable that year. It's that balance is a bit off. But ultimately, you could argue the competition they're up against ain't as good either. None of these teams they're coming up against to try and win the league are as good as Klopp's Liverpool with Mane, Salah and Firmino. And I put Arsenal in that bracket.
But do either of you put the peaks and troughs allegation? It's more than allegations, it's true. That's exactly what they're doing at the moment. They're not a team anymore of consistent heights. Do you put it down to Pep?
Well, he has to be partly to blame, yeah. As Simon said, the resources are still there to go and find the best players. Now, you could start analysing their recruitment, couldn't you? Has their recruitment been as good in the last couple of years as it was previously? The answer has to be no, doesn't it? But they're still competing.
I mean, there was a train of thought that it might go this week, and I know that was speculative.
Yeah, but that was
to say the
started
least.
by Richard Keys. So
right.
Come on.
There is a serious train of thought that it will go sometime before the end of the season, if not at the end of the season.
By whose hand, his or by the Manchester City boards? Because I just have this view of Guardiola that he doesn't strike me, and I might be wrong, he doesn't strike me as someone that wants to go out when he's rebuilding a side. And the challenge is that he can never rebuild it to the heights that he built it to, because that would mean he'll be here for another 10 years. Because in order to re-achieve what he's achieved previously, he's going to have a period of time. Now, of course, that doesn't have to be literal. If he builds a side that wins a Premier League, he goes out on top.
But nobody expected Klopp to drop the statement that he did.
No, true, but no one's had the dominance of football in the way that Pep Guardiola has, and had it repeatedly. He's managed 3 major sides. All of them have been very dominant in their leagues, in terms of Bayern, in terms of Manchester City, in terms of Barcelona. And so going out when you're at your weakest in terms of your performance, coming in 2016 was the start point of a journey. He's got stronger and stronger and stronger. In the last couple of years, it's dropped off.
Yeah.
He strikes me, and maybe I'm being idealistic, of somebody that wants to go out when he's on top. Klopp was never really on top. He was on top of Liverpool, and he was on top of the dynamics that created Liverpool to be a force and loved by his fans. But he wasn't on top of English football, whereas Pep Guardiola was.
Fair enough. Yes, Arsenal fans, we will talk about your club, because my God, if anyone's doing well in the Champions League, it is Arsenal. A win last night in Italy against Internazionale. We'll get to that, of course we will, and to transfers, because Alex Crook will be joining us after the bulletin at 11.
talkSPORT Sports Update, powered by the Nissan Van range, supporting van owners to get the job done. Search Nissan Vans or head to your local Nissan Van Centre.
With your headlines at 3 minutes past 11, I'm Nick Ellaby. Good morning. We're told the key for Thomas Frank is how his Spurs players react to last night's win over Dortmund. Our chief football correspondent is Alex Crook.
Thomas Frank will be in charge for Burnley away at the weekend. I think he's brought himself a little bit of time. There are still members of the board who I think are uncertain about his future long term, but equally there are still some in the hierarchy who are pushing for patience.
Spurs up to fourth in the Champions League table. Meanwhile, is the returning Rodri making Man City worse?
If you look back to the form, they were flying before he came back to start playing. It's almost like he slowed them down a bit. And I thought it'd be the other way around, like maybe we all did. You know, he comes back, it's kind of the icing on the cake.
The Guardian's Manchester correspondent Jamie Jackson says yes, he's been out for a while, but Rodri's form is a concern. He was sent off in City's 3-1 loss at Bodo Glimt. Meanwhile, Bournemouth look to have found a long-term replacement for Semenyo. We understand they've agreed a deal for 19-year-old Brazilian Ryan. Vasco da Gama are getting 30 million quid. We understand Aston Villa have asked AC Milan about Ruben Loftus-Cheek. That follows Boubacar Kamara's serious knee injury. And Harry Brook says he's lucky to still be England white ball captain after that altercation with a nightclub bouncer in New Zealand ahead of the Ashes. Brook said it won't happen again and has backed Brendan McCullum to stay in a job.
He's the best head coach I've had by a million miles. He makes you feel like you can go out there and do anything. He gives you the freedom to do anything.
Our ball-by-ball commentary of England's white ball tour of Sri Lanka starts tomorrow morning on talkSPORT 2 and our cricket YouTube channel.
talkSPORT News.
The Chancellor says the UK will not be pushed around as world leaders wait for Donald Trump's arrival in Switzerland, and inflation rises to 3.4%, driven by tobacco and airfares. More from the news team at past.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit. Rain or shine, our mobile tyre fitting service comes to you, so you can stay on the sofa this winter. Book today at quickfit.com. Conditions apply.
Wet across Scotland before sunny spells this afternoon. Brighter elsewhere before bands of rain moving north westwards, and it's breezy.
Good morning, everybody. 6 minutes past 11 o'clock. It's Jim White, it's Simon Jordan, and it's Danny Murphy, and we are live on talkSPORT this Wednesday morning, the 21st of January, with you all the way through until 1 o'clock. Going to cast our net far and wide this morning. That AFCON final, that crazy AFCON final that saw the Senegalese win it when it looked like the host nation were on the point of winning it, Morocco. Should the Moroccan FA take legal action following the Senegalese AFCON walkout? Remember, they all retreated, bar Sadio Mane, to the dressing room. We'll get to that. We'll get to the cricket in Sri Lanka. Of course, we're going to be hearing from Steve Harmison before we go today. A whole bunch of questions that we want answered regards the cricket. But in the meantime, it's time for this.
Transfer window update on talkSPORT with Intuit QuickBooks. Tackle your self-assessment with Intuit QuickBooks. Search QuickBooks to find out more.
And my colleague here at talkSPORT, Alex Crook, is working day and night on the transfer front, and there is a lot of movement of that, there is no doubt. Alex, good morning to you. I want to talk more broadly about Arsenal in a second, but Arsenal's Ethan Nwaneri, is he on the way out? If so, where?
Yeah, it looks like he's going to join forces with Roberto De Zerbi, the former Brighton manager at Marseille. This was a breaking story. We were reporting yesterday morning that the player had agreed the deal. I now understand there's a club-to-club agreement in place as well. It will only be a loan until the end of the season, with Marseille paying a fee of around €4 million. No buy option in that deal. And I think that's a reflection of the fact that Arsenal still see him very much as one for the future. I think Mikel Arteta has come out over the last 24 hours and described Nwaneri as, quote, a magnificent talent and someone they need to look after. But he's only made 6 substitute appearances in the Premier League this season, totaling around about 165 minutes. So you can understand from Ranieri's perspective, when you look at the squad depth, and they made 7 changes last night, Arsenal still beat Inter Milan away from home with ease, that he feels he won't get in the team this season and he wants to go out and play.
Danny, this is a player you rate highly, isn't it?
Super player. The problem they've got is if he goes there and does really, really well, there's going to be a demand for him, and they've got Madueke and Saka on the right, and they've got Odegaard, Eze and Moreno all play ahead of him as a 10. So, and I'm not sure where the pathway is. And they've got young lad Max Dowman, who's a superstar, who plays similar type of roles on the right as a 10. So it makes sense for him anyway to get minutes for sure.
Yeah.
But he's a super talent.
Alex, he's only 18, 51 appearances so far. Only 18.
Yeah. And obviously he was someone they were keen to tie down to a new contract in the summer. There were some whispers actually that he was seeking guaranteed game time before signing that contract. Obviously he committed his future anyway. Then I think they signed Eperici Eze, which, as Danny has said, has knocked him further down the pecking order already. And it's difficult, isn't it? Miles Lewis-Skelly is another one who I think is suffering from just how many options Arsenal have got. Yes, he plays fairly regularly in the Champions League, but his minutes in the Premier League have been limited. And you know, when Ricardo Calafiori's fit, he'll be the first choice left back.
Yeah. Danny, again, Arsenal, last night, they win 3-1 against Inter. They topped the league with 7 wins from 7. So finishing in the top 2 this year means you have the home advantage in every knockout phase for the 2 legs through to the final.
Massive.
Well, you say that, but is it a potential pressure builder? Could Emirates' anxiety end up being a stumbling block?
No, my years of playing in Europe, the second leg at home is such an advantage. And, I mean, they're relentless, Arsenal, really. They've got such a physical presence to them. They love defending. Best team in Europe without the ball, bar none. Brilliant without the ball. I just see good things for them. Even when they play badly, they'll get a draw.
Yeah.
They're so difficult to play against. Go into the likes of Inter Milan and making 7 changes and still beating a team of that quality 3-1. You know, was it 3-1? Yeah.
3-1.
You know, they've just come on. They've progressed and progressed.
And briefly, Jesus or Gyökeres?
I'd go Jesus at the minute.
Yeah?
Yeah.
We'll move it because Crystal Palace in the news in more ways than one at the moment, Alex. Jean-Philippe Mateta, what's going on?
Well, it's another player who wants away from Selhurst Park, and it does seem to be a case of, with the last one out, please switch off the lights at the moment, doesn't it? When you think about Mark Gay is left, obviously Eze sold to Arsenal in the summer.
How long's he got in his contract, rookie?
He's off. Yeah, he is under contract, and that expires in 2027. But you know what it's like, Danny. It's difficult to keep an unhappy player. There's interest from Juventus, which I think quite appeals to Mateta, the chance to go and play in the Champions League. Aston Villa as well have been mentioned in the last 24 hours or so as their deal for Tammy Abraham hits a few stumbling blocks. I think a big issue here is that Mateta is not on massive money by Premier League terms at Crystal Palace, and I think he feels that by joining another team, he can pretty much double his pay and obviously go and achieve those aspirations to play in a top-tier European competition in the case of Juventus. So I don't think he's put a transfer request as such, but I think his camp have made it pretty clear to Steve Parish and the Palace hierarchy that he wants out.
Oh, Simon, I mean, what can you say to events at Crystal Palace?
I don't think it's any more of the last person here to have a lights out any more than it would be for Bournemouth, in terms of the players that they have had potentially leave the club and gone to bigger football clubs, and the potential that their manager may well leave at the end of the season. It's the difficulty. It's something that I don't fundamentally agree with what Martin Samuel said the other day about the challenges that await Crystal Palace as a result of winning the FA Cup. But it does lean into that the clubs that are trying to compete and win competitions that don't have the legacy, heritage and the turnover and the huge ownership models behind them to be able to bankroll whatever they feel like and having to comply with PSR as they should, are in a real difficult situation, because everyone sees the vision of a manager or a player when it arrives. And Crystal Palace brought Oliver Glasner in. I think he came with a reputation, but Palace got him. Mateta couldn't hit a cow's backside with a banjo a couple of years ago.
No, he couldn't.
And now all of a sudden, Glasner's got him going again, so he might want to check his neck a little bit. But Eze was bought by the recruitment processes of Dougie Freedman. They brought good players in. And a lot of what Palace have done have built players up to a level. And of course, as always is the case, as I said yesterday, it goes back to when Kenny Sampson was flying as a left back for England. Arsenal came along and took him and part exchanged Clive Allen for him. And these situations, and over the years, the smaller clubs, the lesser than clubs, are always going to be subject to either their managers or their players being taken And the only job they can have, and the best job that the owner of that particular club can do, and he does it most of the time, is rinse out as much as he possibly can from the deal and look for that to be reinvested alongside a manager that will develop, and the next manager will come along and develop Palace.
They're not on their own, are they? You got Brighton, you got Brentford.
But it's always been the same. It was back in the team when Palace were the team of the 80s and Venables was coming up. And as soon as Venables didn't get his own way in 1980, off he went to Queen's Park Rangers.
Sure. Alex, let's move it along. Aston Villa reacquainting themselves with Tammy Abraham.
Well, they're certainly trying to, Jim, but this deal is by no means clear-cut. We know that he is officially a Roma player. They're his parent club. He's been on loan at Besiktas over in Turkey. I think Villa have an agreement in place with Tammy Abraham and with Roma, but Besiktas is the stumbling block. And Turkish sources this morning are suggesting that Besiktas believe they've actually achieved a buy obligation in that loan deal. So he is a Besiktas player. Now, Roma would probably push back on that, but it does make it all a little bit messy as we head in this final couple of weeks of the transfer window. That's why Mateta has come back into Aston Villa's thinking as well. And they need a midfielder because Boubacar Kamara is going to miss the rest of the season. Now, in my notebook yesterday on the talkSPORT website, I mentioned that Ruben Loftus-Cheek had been offered to a lot of Premier League clubs, including Manchester United. And we're now hearing conversations taking place between Aston Villa and AC Milan about potentially bringing him back to the Premier League on loan.
That would be a good signing, Crookie, don't you think? He's a nice, elegant footballer. Exactly what Emery likes. You know, somebody can get it off the back players and play through the lines.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously for Loftus-Cheek, it's the opportunity to catch the eye of Thomas Tuchel. He was recalled, wasn't he, after, I think, a 7-year absence from the England squad, came on as a sub in one of the friendly games, the friendly against Wales at Wembley. So much like Conor Gallagher, I think one of the reasons Loftus-Cheek wants to get back to England is that he believes he'll have more chance of getting on the plane for the World Cup next summer.
OK, let's briefly finish on Bournemouth, Alex, if you will.
Yeah, good news, Jim, for Bournemouth, because it's been a difficult couple of windows in terms of players leaving. They've been trying to sign this 19-year-old winger, Ryan, from Vasco da Gama over in Brazil. An agreement in principle has now been reached between the two clubs. It's going to be a £30 million package, I'm told. He'll undergo a medical later this week. Now, he is only a teenager, but he's seen not only as a long-term replacement for Antoine Semenyo, but someone who can come in and play straight away. He's represented Brazil up to under 20 level, and I'm told he's on the radar of Carlo Ancelotti in terms of a senior call-up. So this could be quite an exciting signing for Bournemouth.
Alex, as always, thank you very much indeed. Alex was coming to us thanks to Intuit QuickBooks. Search QuickBooks and you will find out more.
Transfer window update on talkSPORT with Intuit QuickBooks. Tackle your self-assessment with Intuit QuickBooks. Search QuickBooks to find out more.
Wednesday morning, Jim White, Simon Jordan, Danny Murphy. Still, there is much conversation surrounding the fallout from the bizarre end to the final of AFCON in Rabat, Morocco on Sunday night. For those who don't know, Morocco, the host nation, got to the final. That in itself was somewhat controversial because allegations that they were helped on the way. Anyway, that's by the by. But in that final, Senegal, who had won the tournament before, Morocco were trying to win it for a first time. In the 92nd minute, Morocco were awarded a penalty, which saw the Senegalese players ordered off the pitch in protest by their own manager, Pape Thiaw. They thought they'd scored a perfectly legit goal just moments before. 17 minutes after the penalty was awarded, Senegal players came back onto the pitch. The resultant penalty for Morocco was missed by Brahim Diaz after he attempted a panenka. Pape Guy then scored the winning goal in the 4th minute of extra time, and that sealed another AFCON title for Senegal. But now the Moroccan FA is talking seriously about legal action against the Senegalese. Osasu Obai Yuwana is an African football journalist who was there on the night, followed the whole tournament, and joins us live on the show. Osasu, good morning to you. What possible legal recompense could make up for losing out on the AFCON trophy?
Absolutely nothing.
So why are they bothering going through this then?
To put it in French, je ne sais pas. I don't know why they're doing this. It's not going to change the result, but I have a feeling that the Moroccans want Pape Thiaw to be severely punished. And if he is severely punished, that could lead to him missing out on opening games of the World Cup in June. Other than that, I don't see what else can be done to him. There is no argument, none whatsoever, that for a manager to tell his team to go off while the finals of the AFCON is being played is an absolute no-no. You can't do that.
Yes.
However, it's a big however. You know, this incident, this fiasco needs to be interpreted in its right context. The quality of officiating, in fact, using the word the quality, I think is a misnomer. The abysmal officiating in this competition is what provoked this fiasco. And I find it really sad because at the last AFCON in the Ivory Coast, the quality of officiating was first rate. The use of VAR in that competition was first rate. It was so good that you guys were even saying that the Premier League should take a cue from CAF and from the AFCON of that 24 on how VAR should be administered in the Premier League. And it's not often you guys see anything from Africa and say, you know, we need to take a cue from this. But for those of us who understand the game in Africa and the politics behind football, the terrible officiating in this tournament is directly linked to the sacking of the head of referees, an Ivorian named Doué Numandiès, who was largely responsible for the very excellent management of referees at the 2024 AFCON. This man was fired in Nairobi just on the eve of the Championship of African Nations in August. The staff of CAF have not received any official explanation as to why that guy was fired. And it has been shown, it is clearly shown from August till now, that the management of referees within CAF has deteriorated very badly since his sacking.
I see. So you were in the stadium, Osasu, and you watched it very closely with everybody else. And Senegal thought they'd scored a perfectly legitimate goal. Did they not? And it was chalked off.
They did score a legitimate goal. Not they thought. It was a legitimate goal. There's no question about this. And had that goal... You see, the problem was that the referee had already blown for a previous offence before the goal was scored. So the VAR room couldn't even intervene. That wasn't a huge problem. Because once a previous offence has been blown for, then whatever happens after that, the VAR room can't come in. And so what should have been a perfectly legitimate goal was disallowed. And then that penalty followed, and that was the last straw that broke the camel's back. I'll tell you something else. On the Saturday before the final, I was at the pre-match presser, and the atmosphere, the tension at that press conference was tremendous. You could cut it with several knives, not just one. And from the attitude of Pathiao, it was clear to me that should there be anything of serious note at the final, that would trigger him off. And it did.
Wow.
The penalty did that.
I mean, we were talking about this, Simon and
Mr.
myself.
Jordan, do you have any questions for me?
Go on, Simon.
Well, listen, fascinatingly, I didn't disagree with anything that you've said. I mean, I think the nature of any legal challenge, if indeed it's a legal challenge rather than an affairs being driven into the administrative confines of AFCON, is to make sure there's a consequence for Senegal and their manager. And if it requires a legal intervention or some degree of strength from the Moroccan FA, then I think it's entirely appropriate, because I think what the Senegalese did was totally and utterly unacceptable in the context of a sporting environment. No other sport would you be able to walk off a field in any other walk of life, in any other sport, whether it be rugby or cricket or football as the world's biggest sport, and accept the fact that the game reconvenes at your leisure. So I think it's totally and utterly unacceptable. So I think it's entirely appropriate that the Moroccans do something about at least getting some pound of flesh in the consequence of Senegal and their manager. Yeah. Moving on to the issues surrounding the quality of officiating, it's an interesting one, and I take it on board your points about the observation of how VAR was deployed. But I remember talking about officiating on an AFCON tournament where referees were blowing up early in a game, and that had nothing to do with VAR. So when we talk about the standard of officiating, it's been a constant thorn in your side at AFCON about the level of quality. So it hasn't just manifested itself in this tournament, and they shouldn't be conflated into an argument that gives any manager any kind of temperature check to be able to allow himself to be in a situation where he brings the game and the tournament into complete and utter degradation and disrepair and disrepute.
Now that you have spoken in your characteristic form, can I respond?
Of course.
I totally agree that there is no excuse for what he did, okay? It is a no-no to leave the field. Yep. Absolutely. This is not in dispute at all. But I have to insist that even when wrong is done, there is often a context in which it is done.
Agreed. And not as a justification, though, is it?
No, it's not a justification. It's an explanation.
Fair comment.
There's a huge difference between a justification
Fair comment.
and an explanation. CAF must address the root causes of what led to the fiasco. I could see what was happening coming from miles away.
And that's a fair point.
You know, if you watched some games during the group stages, Simon.
Yep.
Chancel Mbemba handled the ball in the penalty box. It was a clear penalty, but lo and behold, there was no penalty. There was not even a VAR review. How can this be acceptable? It's not acceptable.
Does your conclusion draw you towards a slightly sinister outcome, which is corruption, or does it draw your mind towards ineptitude and incompetence?
To be honest, it's a potpourri of all of them.
Yeah.
It's not just one thing or the other. All. I think there is some undue influence, but I think there's largely incompetence. And, you know, when people say Morocco is this, Morocco is that, I say rubbish. You know why? In football or in the general world of geopolitics, every nation tries to maximize whatever advantage they can.
Indeed.
This is just realpolitik, and we can't change that.
Just one. Can I ask one?
Go on, Danny.
Can I finish? Can I just finish before?
Go on, Osasu.
My question. You can't change that. What CAF has to do as the umpire, as the arbiter, is to ensure that they are fair, that they are strict in the applications of the rules, and that they administer them without fear or favor. That's their responsibility.
Indeed. Danny.
Simple as.
Here's Danny Osasu.
Just one quick question for me. Do you think the Moroccan FA would be seeking justice or punishment for this act if the player's ego hadn't got out of the better of him and he'd scored the penalty?
Wouldn't need to, would they?
Who knows? Who knows? I mean, obviously, if they had won the AFCON, then knowing how passionate and how happy the Moroccans would have been, they probably would have just let it pass.
Exactly.
But look, I was in this country for 32 days. The Moroccans wanted this title like nothing I've ever seen before. They haven't had this title in their hands since 1976. So it's a deep wound that they have failed to win this trophy. And I want to go on to another thing, if you don't mind. Walid Regragui, the manager, has done an outstanding job in the last 3.5 years. He has taken them and Africa to the semi-finals of a World Cup, which has never been done before. He has qualified them for a successive World Cup. He has also led Morocco to their first AFCON final in 22 years. Yes, they didn't win at home, but forget about the shenanigans that happened on Sunday. Senegal were the best team of the AFCON. They had the most balanced side of the AFCON. And in my opinion, with or without shenanigans, they would have won the game. They are that good.
Yeah.
So Regragui has earned the right to take Morocco to the World Cup in the summer. But it is ludicrous that some people in Morocco want him gone. I mean, at the press conference after the match,
I saw that. Yeah.
I mean, some of the questions from the Moroccan journalists were just so insulting and so disrespectful.
Yes. Osaso, I've got to say, we are delighted with your contribution and that you joined us live this morning. I've got one final one for you. In a sentence or two, as difficult as it is, what's your takeaway from AFCON 2026? How will you remember it?
From the football, great tournament. The quality of the football at this tournament has probably been the highest I've ever seen it. And one of the things that contributed to that are the world-class facilities that were on offer for this tournament. The pitches were superb. The stadia were great. And then so the players had the stage on which to play to the maximum of their potential. On the governance side, I just want CAF to do their bloody job. Pardon my swearing. They should do their job and govern football the way it should be governed. The AFCON is a biennial event, and despite the fact that Mosepe, the president of CAF, has said it will be 4 years, I hope that doesn't happen, because to change the format of the AFCON will be a near-death blow for football in Africa.
Osasu, I've got to say to you, you're welcome in the studio at any time. We'll keep in touch with you and we'll see where it goes. But again, and I emphasize this, we've thoroughly enjoyed your contribution. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Osasu Obe Yuana, African football journalist who was there for 32 days in Morocco and watched them lose the final with the last kick of the ball virtually to Senegal. What a moment that was. 11:30.
We're told Thomas Frank is set to be in charge of Spurs at Burnley on Saturday. The under-fire head coach insists he is building something.
Now we need to build on this. And I just see a team that is running very, very hard. And I think that's a very, very good sign. That's a healthy sign of a culture. And we are building something a little bit step by step.
The win over Dortmund leaves Tottenham 4th in the Champions League table. Meanwhile, Pep's told us the dynamic at Man City needs to change quickly. They lost 3-1 at Bodo Glimt and will need to beat Galatasaray next week to avoid a February playoff. No such worries for Arteta's Arsenal, though, who talkSPORT's Alvin Martin says could rival the Invincibles.
Every player that he brings on is full of confidence. Every player that he takes off and he gets it right. You know, they don't complain because they all buy into what he's trying to do.
Meanwhile, Harry Brooks said sorry for that altercation with a nightclub bouncer ahead of a disastrous Ashes tour, and he's backed Brendan McCullum to stay in a job.
He's the best head coach I've had by a million miles. He makes you feel like you can go out there and do anything. He gives you the freedom to do anything.
And Emma Raducanu will go away and reevaluate her game after crashing out of the Aussie Open in round 2. More at talksport.com.
It's showtime on talkSPORT with BetMGM. We're ready for the action. Are you? Visit betmgm.co.uk or download the app. 18 plus. Gambleaware.org.
It's that time. Sean Martin from BetMGM joins us live. We're going to look at some of the top sporting events and the odds round and about them. Sean, good morning to you, mate. Danny and Simon are with me. Last night's Champions League football, where do you want to go with it?
Morning, lads. Yeah, got to start at the start, I suppose, haven't we? Man City losing 3-1 to Bodo Glimt was a 28-1 shot. Chance they could start the final match day outside the top 8 now. The Arsenal machine rolled on, really. 6-point cushion at the top and almost guaranteed top seeding. And a word, of course, for Spurs. As Matt Gibson mentioned yesterday, around £330 million of talent unavailable to Thomas Frank, but a good solid win over Dortmund nonetheless. And they're the 4th best side in the competition as it stands, and in a very good position to skip the February matches altogether. The upshot in terms of the market is that Arsenal remain 7-2 favourites, Jim, so no change there. Where there is a change is with Man City and PSG both moving out a smidge to 7-1 and 15-2 respectively. Defending champions PSG obviously losing to Sporting in Lisbon last night, and Real Madrid in a point from 10s to 9s to win it all after thumping Monaco 6-1. Aside from the odds though, gents, the very fact that City and PSG in particular both lost last night, it just slightly opens the top 8 door a wee bit for some of the teams playing tonight, doesn't it?
It does, Danny, does it not?
Sorry, I was I was looking at my golf stuff.
We'll come to that, Danny. We'll get there.
About.
Patience.
But yes, Jim is the answer. Yes.
Yeah. Well, we'll just take that as a yes from Danny. Let's have a look. Danny was just doing a bit of prep. Let's have a look at the matches tonight in the Champions League football. And what we're talking, Chelsea, Newcastle, Liverpool. Where are we going with it?
You ready, Danny?
Yeah,
sure?
Ready.
Nice one. Chelsea, Newcastle and Liverpool all in action tonight. Chelsea at home to Cypriot side Paphos. Nothing to do with the odds here, Jim, but Jordan, the Chelsea fan colleague of mine, moaning earlier this morning, 71 quid for a ticket for that game. Pretty sure I could get a flight to Paphos from Glasgow for that money to be fair. But it's Liam Rossinior's 4th game and it's a 4th different competition for him already as well. They're massive favourites, 9-1 on, 8-1 the draw, and 19s for a Paphos upset. Realised this morning actually David Luiz is playing for them as well. Yeah. He's usually box office one way or the other, isn't he? Bit further north, Newcastle at home to PSV Eindhoven. Always fancy the Magpies at St James's Park though. PSV absolutely running away with the Dutch league at the moment, so it won't be an easy one. But we've still got Eddie Howe and co 8-25 favourites to win that. And then we've got the match that ended up kind of dominating our team chat earlier on. Liverpool in action over in Marseille. Loads of draws lately for the Reds. 4 of the last 5 and 6 of their 12-game unbeaten run have ended in a draw. But guys, no Marseille Champions League game has ended in a draw for 30 matches in a row now. 11-4 for that run to end tonight. Liverpool 10 to 11, so under even money. And Marseille very capable, especially at home. They're 11 to 4 as well. In terms of qualification, Liverpool, as the Liverpool fans in my work were saying earlier, don't necessarily need a win, but it would certainly help, wouldn't it, Danny? They've got Qarabag at Anfield in the last game, so anything tonight and a win in that last game gets them in good shape to reach that kind of 16-point mark or more.
Danny, would you like to join our discussion?
Yeah, I mean, it might help them a little bit because Marseille really go after teams with Aubameyang and Greenwood. They score a lot of goals. They do go and try and win games. They're not going to do a low block, and Liverpool have to be patient, you know.
Yeah.
So it could suit them in that respect. I see quite a lot of goals in the game, maybe a 2-2 or something like that. So as long as Liverpool don't lose, carry on that good run.
Do you reckon Salah starts tonight, Danny? First game back after AFCON?
I've got a feeling he will,
for him to score anything.
I've got a feeling he will. I've got a feeling he will because Liverpool have struggled to score recently.
It's live in talkSPORT. talkSPORT 2 for Newcastle PSV, incidentally.
Yeah, if you're gonna embrace him back in, you might as well just throw him in.
Yeah. Isn't it funny how it comes around that David Luiz is back playing against Chelsea, Simon, after all these years?
Yep.
And he was a firm favourite when he was there.
Yeah, he was. I mean, I don't think he's the greatest defender in the world. I think he's his best defending when Brazil got beat 7-1 by Germany, didn't you? Look, I mean, I think that it's an interesting dynamic with Salah because I don't think Salah has apologised, has he?
Well, if he did, Slot didn't say that he did.
So
accepted him back in.
It's interesting to see what that does. I mean, we spoke about it, about how much the dressing room only cares about himself and players don't really sit there ruminating on what the manager needs to do with him. But it does create a weakness in the manager's authority, the fact that he's been able to tee off. And I mean, he will go in the summer. So I suppose if you're going to be pragmatic about it, you've got this mercurial talent. You might as well utilise it and utilise it to your own ends.
Yes, yeah. Talking about teeing off, and Simon, thank you in advance. The Dubai Desert Classic. And Mr. Murphy will very much come into his own here, we're hoping. But anyway, Sean, fire away.
9-1, by the way, Danny, for 2-2 in that game tonight. No bad courses over there in Dubai and the Emirates, really. You must have played over in the Emirates before, surely, Danny.
I have indeed.
That one?
Yeah, many times, yeah. I say many times, 3 or 4. Beautiful place to play, although the refreshments are quite expensive on the course. They've got you there by the curlies, haven't you, when it's 32.
For a man of your means. Goodness gracious.
I just said, as Simon Jordan got a tab here, and they went, yes, so I just put it on that.
So what we thinking then with this one?
Rolex Series event, this 5th year in a row is one now. Tyrrell Hatton is the defending champion. He's 10-1, third favourite to retain. Rory McIlroy, 4-time winner, including 2 in a row in 2023 and 24, 7-2 favourite. Tends to be close in this event. The winning margin's been 1 stroke or via a playoff in all of the 4 Rolex Series years so far. It's 5-2 for any player to win by 1 stroke and 4-1 for anyone to win via playoff again. We've got a wide spread of markets for this, Danny, so I'm going to ask you not just for who you think's going to win, but someone to finish in the top 5 and also someone to finish top 10. Who are you looking at?
Well, I'd go Rory because he was 2 off the lead, came joint 3rd last weekend with 50% of his game. So if he gets it to 75%, I think he's too strong. I mean, he's just so good. I think Rory will win it. Tommy, who had a disappointing weekend, I think he finished 25th and had a couple of inconsistent rounds, which is so unlike him. I expect a reaction, so I've gone him to get it back into the top 5 this weekend, and I think they might be playing together, actually, which they enjoy doing. Obviously, we saw that in the Ryder Cup. And for the top 10, I've gone Tristan Lawrence because I think he finished about 10th the weekend just gone by, and he had an awful weekend with his putter. But the rest of his game is incredible. So if he's tidies up his putting, he could be a threat. Massive hitter as well. So I'd go Tristan Lawrence.
Yeah, nice shouts. Rory, 72, obviously the favourite, but favourite for a reason. And as I say, 4-time winner, including 2 in a row recently. Fleetwood, 13-8 you're getting for top 5. Again, one of the favourites, but decent for folk to kind of get behind because he just has to be there or thereabouts. So well over even money for that. Could very well be well priced. And then Lawrence, 11-2. You're getting for him top 10, so a bit of bite to this one, 5.5-1. Missed the cut here last year, but more relevant, as you say, probably his top 10 finish last week in the Dubai Invitational. So strong form there coming into this one. But yeah, as I say, widespread of markets there. Normal each way terms is about a fifth of the odds for first 6 places, but being able to select specifically top 5, top 10, top 20, etc. just adds that wee bit more, especially for picks like Tristan Lawrence, who are long odds on to win.
And Jim, you'll know as well, playing in the heat, of course, that the big hits is a benefit because it travels further.
Absolutely, and I'm glad you mentioned that, Dan. That was very much the case when I played Apes Hill in Barbados.
Oof.
Hit it an absolute mile that day, Dan.
Did you play there?
I did. I played with Dave Whelan.
I've never had the
pleasure.
pleasure.
One-time owner of Wigan Athletic.
Supposed to be amazing.
Oh, stand tall.
On the golf cart and had a few drinks with him. That's what he
Exactly. I dressed the ball right down the middle. It was quite a day. Sean, thank you very much indeed for that.
No evidence of that.
It's known as thinking on your feet. That was a look at what's going on in the world of BetMGM. Visit betmgm.co.uk or download the app. 18 plus. BeGambleAware.org.
It's showtime on talkSPORT with BetMGM. Keep things golden with responsible play at betmgm.co.uk. 18 plus. GambleAware.org.
The Australian Open update on talkSPORT with TNT Sports. Every set exclusively live on TNT Sports. Subscription required. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Seems a good time to go back down under. It's the Australian Open tennis. Let's hear from Will Hobbs. Will.
Thanks, Jim. Some good news at last for British tennis fans to end day 4 in Melbourne. Cam Norrie came through a typically attritional contest in 4 sets against an American, Emilio Nava, who pushed the 28th seed all the way in front of a raucous and well-oiled Aussie crowd who were almost unanimously on Norrie's side. But Emma Raducanu was a long way off it in her second-round match. Despite a first-set lead, she fell away quickly and straight, losing 7 of the last 9 games against Anastasia Postapova. The Austrian world number 55 will next face Arina Sabalenka, the world number 1, who stormed through to round 3 in just over an hour, a fraction quicker than Coco Gauff managed. Carlos Alcaraz is also safely through, but the British qualifier Arthur Ferry's unexpected run is at an end, defeated comfortably in straight sets by the Argentine Thomas Martin Echeverry. Aussie favourite Alex de Minaur came through in 4 sets against the unseeded Hamad Madjanovic, but from a British perspective, Raducanu fizzled out. Norrie soldiers on.
Terrific, Will. Thank you very much indeed. Danny alongside Simon. Big night in the championship last night, Danny. Coventry 2, Millwall 1. Coventry now at the top of the championship, albeit they've got a game in hand on Ipswich, Middlesbrough and Hull, but on 58 points. So that's an 8-point lead over Ipswich in second place at the moment. Can you see them, Danny, the charge continuing to automatic promotion for Frank and Coventry?
Well, they've got great firepower. I mean, I'd like to see it. Ipswich and Middlesbrough got the games in hand, haven't they? That makes it a little bit tighter because it could be 5 points.
Yeah.
Do you know what, Jim? I'd love to see him do it. I think Frank's a great lad and he's done a really good job. The problem is with the Championship, and I've had, a season there, and I've seen the highs and lows of it and how quickly things can go badly. I've been part of a team, in a good position and then fall off a cliff, and it can happen to anyone. But he has reinforced his attack in the window. They've got lots of good players to choose from and rotate in attacking areas. And if they keep going after teams, and they're going to win more than they lose. So, I think they will just nudge over. But it's going to be a fight because Ipswich are flying.
Well, I'm not so sure they've fallen off a cliff, but West Brom have seriously hit a block in the road.
West 2 losses under the new manager, isn't it?
Yeah. Eric Ramsey comes in. He was appointed at the start of the month. He was a coach at Manchester United before West Brom. His first senior managerial role came with Major League Soccer side Minnesota United, where he led them to back-to-back conference playoff semi-finals. Now he's at West Brom, and they lose, Simon, last night. Philip Clement's Norwich 5-0 at the Hawthorns.
Norwich are flying.
Well, they are now, but they've just got themselves together. But prior to this, they were in the bottom 3 a week ago.
Yeah.
So Norwich, as a club that's recently been in the Premier League, looking at League One, was an absolute catastrophe. West Bromwich Albion's problem lies in their recent appointments. One of them being Ryan Mason, with all due respect to how nice a fellow he may or may not be, a manager he appears not to be.
Yeah.
And so why they find themselves in this period of decline and down the bottom of the table and on the receiving end of a spanking is not to do with a new manager that's come in for 2 games. It's to do with the decisions that West Brom have made over the last couple of years, resulting in a situation where they find themselves, with all due respect to Ryan, I don't have any issues with him wanting to ply his trade. He's a very nice boy. We've had him in the studio. The adversity he suffered in his career shows you a kind of resilience that he has, but I don't feel like he's a leader, and I wasn't surprised that West Bromwich Albion had the challenges that they had under Ryan, and here they are now at the bottom of the table getting a whooping from a side that a week ago were themselves on the receiving end of all kinds of criticism.
I'm not sure I've heard you use the word whooping before.
Whooping.
I didn't expect whooping to come. I don't know what I expected, but certainly whooping wasn't what I expected. But that's fine.
It's a whooping.
Hull, to a degree, whooped Preston 3-0 at Preston, but that's by far not the whole story. When you've had an 8-match ban in a game against Blackburn for biting, and then a 9-match ban this season for racially abusing another player, you would think Preston's Milutin Osmaic would be minding how he goes. Last night, sent off in stoppage time for headbutting former Rangers player, now with Hull, John Lundstrom. So off he trotted after the headbutt, and I don't think there's any argument about the headbutt, and off he went. And afterwards, Paul Heckingbottom, kind of shaking his head at the same time, spoke about his player Osmaic.
A lack of discipline is totally unacceptable, We can't, at least in my time here, if he gets 3 games for that, that'd be 20 games missed. They are different issues, don't get me wrong, do you know what I mean? But sending off for a tackle or something help the team is a lot different.
Is he running out of chances?
Do you think I'd say that to you?
I've no idea. It's just my job to ask you the question, isn't it?
Yeah, worth asking.
Are you concerned then that this is happening with one of your players and he's not learning his lesson?
Well, that's obvious, isn't it? Well, he's not been sent off for an headbutt, has he? He's not learned his lesson. He's got the issues are totally unconnected in terms of football, aren't they? But in terms of other things, they were professional. We're professional people, footballers, and then there's a way to act, regardless if that's a tackle on the pitch, discipline away from it, training ground. There's a way to be professional.
Simon, you and I both know Preston director, former chairman of Leeds, Peter Ridsdale, very well. I spoke to Peter just before I came on air, but he's not saying anything officially. It's fair to say he's got his hands full with this. You would think they'll flat out to try and get rid of this player by now.
I mean, I saw the incident. My first reaction to it was, whilst it is a sending off, I don't think it's a full-on running jump headbutt. It's not Begbie out of Train Spotting. It is not acceptable on a football field, and he has, he's illustrated a code of behaviour. When it comes on top for him in moments of adversity, he can't control himself. Now, I don't want to draw parallels, but Suarez did similar things. He got done for similar things that this kid's been done for, lower level, in terms of who this guy plays for. So players of a certain temperament, when it comes to a flashpoint, it doesn't seem to matter what you say to them. Anyone coming back from an 8-game ban, with all the controversy that surrounded that, and I know that Preston were very robust, and Peter was very robust in the fact that this was circumstantial evidence, certainly was not proved, and he believed that it was the currency of the time that subsequently got him into a situation. But his previous offence, there was no debate about that. But even if there was an element of injustice, the last thing you do is come back from an 8-game ban where you've been of no use to man nor beast in the team, and you might have got a fine and whatever else from the club because you put yourself in the way of it.
Yeah.
And you do that in your first or second
It's a liability.
It would appear that in pressurised moments, because the player himself wasn't innocent that he headbutted. The player himself in the altercation before the standoff, before their heads went together, has pulled him around the back of the neck and been involved in an altercation with him himself. So it isn't a case of the guy just walked up to him, tapped him on the shoulder and headbutted him. The player was provocative and in a combative situation with him.
It was a head push, not a head butt.
Yeah, it was a head, exactly right. But he is now at a point where I thought Paul Heckingbottom handled the conversation and the media relatively well.
So do I.
They need to marginalise the downside of getting this player out, which is making sure that some other fool will take on the liability of him and suggest that he's been badly misunderstood and it's just a cultural difference in Preston. They'd be much better off in some other country playing for them. And by the way, here's the fee for him. So that's what Peter will be trying to achieve now, because I think most likely the manager will have run his course with him.
Yeah.
But then again, with respect to Paul and how well he handled this, do you know your players? Do you know the reality of what your players are capable of doing and their flashpoints? Because I'm sure Paul would say that I put this player on notice that, if we get a situation, a flashpoint, you've been involved in 2 now.
Yeah.
You've been in one that got you a ban for something that you did previously, which was biting a player. You've now got one for racial abusing another player because you lost control and said something you shouldn't have said, albeit Preston still say,
I know,
allegedly.
This. I mean, he gives us a bit of variety.
So I'm sure Paul must have said, can we make sure that if a moment comes on top, that you retain control? Players not capable of it.
It's always your team. You're playing with a liability, aren't you?
Yeah.
Danny?
I mean, is the juice worth the squeeze? With Suarez, it was. Because he's so good. You could argue Eric Cantona was another one.
Yeah.
Just somebody who's so good and so influential that you just take the madness.
Yeah.
I'm not sure he's that influential.
All right. Peter Ridsdale, if you're listening, good luck. We're coming up to 12 noon. It's Jim White, Simon Jordan and Danny Murphy live in talkSPORT with Selco, where the trade goes.
talkSPORT Sports Update, powered by the Nissan Van Range. Commercial vehicles that go the distance for your business. Search Nissan Vans or head to your local Nissan Van Centre.
With the headlines at 12:03, I'm Nick Ellaby. Good afternoon. We're told Thomas Frank will be in charge of Spurs at Burnley on Saturday after the win over Dortmund. Our chief football correspondent Alex Crooks told us the board are still divided.
I think the key is how Tottenham react from here. If they go to Burnley and win and their away record by and large is good, then again you would imagine that Thomas Frank will stay on. But if they go there and lose to Scott Parker's team, who aren't exactly drunk in victories this season, then I think the pressure will be right back on again.
Now, talkSPORT's Danny Murphy's told White and Jordan Arsenal are just too strong for a depleted Man City in the title race.
Even if Arsenal lost 3 games, even if they did, which is possible between now and then, unlikely but possible, City aren't going to win every game.
Right.
They're too open.
City lost at Bodo Glimt to give themselves a nervous final Champions League group game with Galatasaray next week. Arsenal already into the knockouts after brushing Inter aside. We're hearing Bournemouth have agreed a deal for 19-year-old Brazilian Ryan. They see the Vasco da Gama winger as a long-term replacement for Semenyo. We understand Aston Villa have asked AC Milan about Ruben Loftus-Cheek's availability, and that follows Boubacar Kamara's knee injury. And Harry Brooks says he's lucky to still be England's white ball captain. He's now said sorry to his teammates for that altercation with a nightclub bouncer ahead of a rotten Ashes tour. Bumble's told talkSPORT that's one strike for the young Brook.
But he has to be reminded of his responsibilities. He's representing the country, and that sort of behaviour. He's been read the Riot Act, I know that, and he was fined £30,000 as well. And so they would hope that that's been dealt with and he learns from it.
Brooks in charge as our ball-by-ball commentary of England's white ball tour of Sri Lanka starts tomorrow morning on talkSPORT 2 and our cricket YouTube channel.
talkSPORT News.
Donald Trump's touchdown at the World Economic Forum as other world leaders prepare to find out how far he'll go with Greenland, and Prince Harry's giving evidence in his privacy case against the Daily Mail. There's more from the news team at past.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit. With a huge range of premium brands available, we've got what you need to drive away happy every time. Visit your local centre or quickfit.com and book today.
Across Scotland, clearing up to leave sunny spells. Elsewhere, gloomy as bands of rain move northeastwards and blustery winds.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's Jim White, Simon Jordan and Danny Murphy, and we are live in talkSPORT. A lot to cram in the final hour today. We're going to be talking darts over in Saudi Arabia. I have to say, there has been so much reaction, enormous reaction, to the contribution of the African football journalist, Simon. What was he like? Osasu Obayuwana, who was absolutely magnificent with his take on the AFCON tournament. He was there for all 32 days in Morocco, and how the final itself panned out in such controversial fashion. Well, he was magnificent, Osasu.
It's good to have people that can A, articulate a sentence very well and express their points and entertain people at the same time, and B, know their subject matter. And he was in that gang. You've got the Dutch journalist that we had a few times in Germany. Who I like.
Marcel van der Kraan.
Correct.
Yeah.
And you've got Constantine Eckner, who I don't always agree with, but he can hold the subject matter and speak to it. And so did this fella.
Yes.
And the fact he finished it off with a typical colloquialism from England, which is, just do their bloody job, would have probably engaged several parts of our audience.
It probably heard you say it so many times.
In the final hour, we'll head off to Colombo, which is the capital of Sri Lanka, and we'll be hearing from double Ashes winner with England, of course, Steve Harmis, in England over there on international cricket duty, of course. We'll get to that. In the meantime, we'll stick with this, especially with Danny in mind. Liverpool travel to Marseille tonight in the Champions League. It is live on talkSPORT. Everybody knows we have seen Liverpool in not the fashion we expected to see them this season. Highs and lows of that, there is no doubt. We wonder what we're going to get from Liverpool in Marseille tonight. And of course, Arne Slot, incredible as it is, has been under a bit of pressure at the football club this season. And now, in the light of Real Madrid sacking Xabi Alonso, former Liverpool player, this topic came up in what proved to be something of an awkward exchange pre-match between a journalist and Slot.
I can't help asking, but what do you think about the rumors about Xabi Alonso at Liverpool? Does they hurt you, and do you feel the rising pressure from your fans who are booing their team? And maybe you've talked to Xabi, maybe he called you, sorry.
Yeah, he called me. He called me and asked, what do you think about the team? Because I'm going to take over in 6 months. So can you tell me a little bit more? Or maybe earlier, maybe he takes over tomorrow. No. This is one of the most weirdest questions I've ever got. Yeah, what's there to say to your answer? I'm working here now for a little bit more than 1.5 years, and I really like my work over here. Won the league last season, struggled more in the league this season. That's also obvious. So yeah, what's there left to say?
To say that Slot was accommodating with that answer is incredible, is it not?
Not really, because the last part of the question gave him an out from the first part.
Yeah.
Because the first part of the question was a slightly difficult part, which is, what do you say to the fans that are booing your style of play and are looking at the fact that Xabi Alonso is available and could be potentially taking your job? Now, if he left it there, then whilst I don't like the question for the manager, and it's a difficult question for him to answer, it's a legitimate question. The other part is, as he called you and talked about it, is it's absurd, which is what he focused on, which got him out of the first part of the question, which allowed him to look like he was accommodating a question rather than actually dealing with the central part, which is people are not potentially looking at Liverpool and thinking this is going the right way and the team are playing the right way. And seemingly Liverpool fans are not that impressed with the current form of the Liverpool side.
Yeah.
You pick up on some of the things that the fans are saying, which is apparently singing about attack. It's a direct reference to the passive nature of the way that Slot has set them up this season. So he got out of that question by appearing to be accommodating the ridiculous part of the question.
Which is clever in itself.
Which is, well, it was a gift for him, because the journalist gave him a great question and then took it away from him.
I mean, when you look at it, Danny, Liverpool, unbeaten in 12. So why is there still an underwhelming feel about the defending champions? And there is.
I think there's been 6 draws against poor teams, especially at Anfield. There's been a couple of really bad performances. And I think the bar has been set so high under Jurgen Klopp and the style of play, which is high energy, high press, especially at Anfield. I think away from home fans are a bit more understanding of when you've got to be a bit more pragmatic, and like the Arsenal performance, for example, because you're going to a good team, Inter Milan, another example. But overall, the intensity of the performances has been what Liverpool fans have been disgruntled by, and it's because they've seen such a dynamic style of play for so long under Jurgen Klopp. Now, there's reasons for it. Obviously, if a team comes to Anfield and sits in a low block, there's times in the game where you have to be patient. But the dynamism isn't quite there. They've lost the likes over the years of Mane, Diaz, who was probably the best at it. Even when Darwin Núñez plays, he's big, he's strong, he's quick, he runs around, he closes people down. Jota was another one. They don't have the same characteristics, some of the players they've brought in to press. Like Ekitike's not a great presser.
Right.
He's a great player,
Right.
He's not a great... Isak's not a great presser.
So is that why at the weekend, after they were held to a 1-1 draw with Burnley, the result was met with boos, but during the game and throughout the game, Danny, there were chants of attack.
Yeah, because
this is your Liverpool.
It's become
at home.
Yeah, I mean, it's a delicate balance, because Liverpool last year, when they go up in games and they're winning, and he got a lot of praise, Slot, for how the team was able to control games better than they did in previous years, and that was fair. What's happened now is, because they're not killing teams early and Salah's not flying and getting a goal early on, or whoever, whether it be Jota or whoever, Diaz, getting a goal, and they're struggling a bit for confidence. So what happens is, inevitably, even the best players play a bit safer, and it becomes a bit sideways, back round, a bit like we were talking about City earlier. And because Liverpool aren't winning games, the fans just get more frustrated. And the quality of players they've brought in and the money they've spent, it's not unfair for the fan base to have an expectation of better and more dynamic. And he is a bit risk averse. Even with some of his substitutions at times, he has been a bit risk averse. Now, you could argue, when they went on a horrendous run, losing games weekly, and there was a lot of question marks, he had to find a balance between continually trying to play the same way that they did, to then getting some results and building some confidence. And there's an argument to say he's done that. But now this disgruntlement and this question mark over his job puts him in a place, I think, where he's got to take a risk. And he's got to go a bit more dynamic and a bit more risk averse, and really at home especially go after teams and take the risk of losing, because the Liverpool fans demand it.
Sure. I don't suppose, incidentally, the news about Xabi Alonso has exactly helped Arne Slot.
Oh no, it's enhanced the disappointment and the chat around the Liverpool fan base, because Alonso has this wonderful emotional affinity with the fans because of his tone as a player. What I would say is to be careful about that, because although he was a great player and he's a great lad apparently, and he's a decent coach by all accounts, he's a possession-based coach. His Leverkusen were a possession-based team. You know, he enjoys it. He grew up with the Spanish way. He was a massive figure in that Spanish team that had years of success by dominating the ball. He's not going to be Klopp. So if you want that back, then, you know, you're kind of contradicting yourself if you're demanding Alonso. Because Alonso won't give you that. Real Madrid weren't dynamic. You know, that's not him. He's a possession-based coach. So it's not helpful to Slot that Alonso's now a free agent. Of course not. But actually, when you break down what the Liverpool fans are crying out for and what Alonso gives, I don't think they necessarily correlate.
I noticed Dominic Szoboszlai has confirmed that he's in talks with the club over a new deal, but no decision has been taken over his future yet. Is he a future Liverpool captain?
Yeah, possibly. He takes responsibility with his performances, yeah. I don't see him really organising or being particularly encouraging or critical to players around him by pointing the finger and grabbing people round the scruff of the neck. Not many players are these days.
I mean, barring the horrendous back heel moment.
He's been terrific, Jim.
Is he the only one to truly stand out, though?
I think you could say Ekitike stood out and surpassed expectation. I think you could definitely say Ekitike. Szoboszlai.
89 million quid.
No, but he comes as a young lad as an understudy to Isak in most people's eyes. They didn't know whether he played on the wing. Was he a striker?
Yeah.
You know, he didn't get in the PSG side when he had all the stars. Are we buying potential?
This one's live in talkSPORT. Do they win it? Liverpool? Marseille?
Be tight. It'd be a good game. I think it'd be tight. Could 2-2, 3-2, 2-1. You know, it's going to be tight. Liverpool are struggling defensively at times. They do give up a lot of chances compared to last season. And with Marseille's forward line, which is pretty damn potent, you'd expect them to score.
You think Robertson's leaving?
I do.
It's a strange one, isn't it?
Not really.
Well, I thought the boy Kirkers has hardly hit the ground running, has he?
He's had a better month. He's done all right recently, and he's just turned a few of the fans around. But Robertson, I don't know him, and I don't think he should leave, and I think he should have been given more minutes. I think Kirkers has been left in at times when he shouldn't be, and Robertson still looks more than capable. The thing is with him, he's so used, and this is my experience of football as they get into the end, and I was one and many lads I've spoke to. When you've played so often and so regularly.
It's entitlement.
No, not even entitlement. There's an you love it so much, and he's that type of lad.
Yeah.
He can't be happy going to bed at night, sitting on the sideline watching Kirkers ahead of him, because he'll feel he's better.
Yeah.
And there's an argument to say he is still.
Is tonight a night for him?
Play for the World Cup.
Is tonight a night for him, Danny?
I don't think he will play him, no. And the reason I think Kirkes gets in a lot of the time ahead of him because he's quicker. Robertson's not slow, but Kirkes is really quick. And I think defensively against Marseille, because of their pace, I think he'll play Kirkes. Although he's played Robbo in Europe quite a few times.
Yeah. Okay, Liverpool in Marseille tonight, and it's live in talkSPORT. Now then, after England's 4-1 series defeat in the Ashes over in Australia, they quickly turned their attention to 3 ODIs and 3 2020s in Sri Lanka. Every ball is live and exclusive on talkSPORT 2 with the first ODI beginning tomorrow. You will not miss a trick on the talkSPORT network.
Short again, Brook goes again. Do I need to tell you where the ball's gone again?
Butler makes sure that it's 6, number 23.
And goes, oh my goodness, he has smashed that field out. And Sam Curran has beasted it over long on for 6.
Oops, I did it again.
Nothing at the shot. Well, it's pulling in the air out to the fine leg area. That's gone for 6.
Duckett, short, wide, cut, 4. Loves it there, Duckett. Oh, is that instant? And Rashid has gone straight past the charging Chandimal.
That's brilliant. That is absolute class from Joe Root, right on cue.
You don't want to go off and put the kettle on here, do you? You're going to miss something.
Looking forward to it. Let's go live to Colombo, Sri Lanka, and join Double Ashes winner with England, Steve Harmison. Steve, hi to you. The first ODI begins tomorrow, but for some of this England group, what do you think? Is it the best or the worst time to be heading straight back into it, following what was, after all, the debacle in the Ashes?
Yeah, Jim. I think it's the best. You know what? With professional sports, men and women, you know, when you have disappointment, you can't wait for the next one to come. You know, whatever you're riding the crest of a wave and things go well, you want that to continue. And sometimes when you have a poor series like the Ashes, and there's a lot of talk about on-field and off-field stuff, the best way to sort of quieten that noise down is to get back out there and play. The professional cricketers, they want to play cricket, and you know, they're practicing right in front of where I'm sitting now. Just spoke to Jamie Overton. Harry Brooks spoke a little bit earlier to Scott Taylor, our producer, and they're saying the right things. It's now about the actions. The Ashes is gone, and it's now about whatever they've said it's about how they perform on the field. And this format of the game, the 4 wins from 15, so they need to put their ideas up in this format as well.
Let's get into the nuts and bolts of it, Steve. Is this a last chance saloon for the likes of England coach Brendan McCullum?
I think the World Cup possibly is. Well, they've got 6 white ball games here, 3 in Colombo, 3 in Kandy, and then they go straight into, I think the last game in Kandy is on the 3rd of February, and the first game in the World Cup's on the 6th. So they're going straight into a difficult period. when it comes to travel, because we're going from Sri Lanka to India. So yes, I think it is the last chance saloon for Brendan McCullum. I think I've been quite honest with assessments that there's a lot more to just looking after the England cricket team from Rob Keith's point of view. And Ben Stokes, I think, as England captain, I wouldn't like to see a test team captain by anybody else while Stokes is in that team. But I think the manager, the man that sets a message, the man that builds the environment, and the man that sets game plans, preparation, and sorts everything out from that point of view is the coach. And I think that's where England have largely been, I think, below par going into the Ashes. And we'll see what happens going into this World Cup.
Do you think McCallum accepts himself? Because I think he's been a lot of the time a breath of fresh air. I think he's been a revelation. I think he's made England cricket far more appealing to watch than it has been in previous generations, albeit your generation won the Ashes in 2005 and we've seen some other good sides over the last 20-odd years. Do you think he accepts, despite the robustness of his sort of attitude, which is just my way or the highway, which is the feel that I get that he believes, that there needs to be some finessing and changing, because the outcome in the Ashes was the team that he set up, the manner in which he set them up, the discipline behind it, and ultimately the preparation was all under his control. They got bashed 4-1. Do you think he'll accept any changes and implementation of restructuring some of his thinking, or will he stick to this fact that it's my way or the highway?
I think, unfortunately, Sam, I think Brendan is my way or the highway. I've been very critical. As you know, me and you have had conversations inside the studio. I'll be devastated if Brendan McCullum got sacked by England. I really would. You say he's a breath of fresh air. I think the mindset he's given England has been first class, has been brilliant. Yeah. You know, the freedom that he gives. But we hear so many times, especially in pundits, especially people that analyse the game, you talk about Bazball, and that word brains at the end of it comes far too often. And Danny's in the studio from a football point of view, and Simon, you know yourself, when people make the same mistakes, constantly make the same mistakes, then there's something wrong. That person's not for changing. They're stubborn, they're doubled down on some of the decisions they make. So as much as Brendan McCullum has been brilliant for English cricket, and I think he's given them a lease of life that I don't think anybody in England could give them from an English point of view, mentality-wise, I think he's been overseen in 3.5 years that England have constantly made the same mistakes. So is there a chance of learning? They keep saying, a lot of teams say when they sort of do the post-match press conference, they say, oh, we'll take the positives and we'll learn from it. England have been doing the same mistakes the last 3.5 years, where they've been in good positions and lost games. First 2 years they won, but did they play anybody, really meaningful apart from that sort of 2023 Ashes? So they should have won that.
Are you saying then that they're not adaptable? It's time. I always relate it. I remember Fergie changing to a 4-3-3 and sticking Rooney on the wing to win the Champions League, because swapping him with Ronaldo because Ronaldo didn't do the defending. And if you think of even your mob Newcastle under Keegan, it was, we're playing that way, we're going to outscore anybody, but they didn't get over the line. And there's only so long you can put up with kind of it's great and it's all got, there's lots of positives, but if you don't actually succeed, because let's be honest, the last Ashes was a farce in some respects. I mean, I'm not a big, massive cricket fan, but it was farcical. How many times do you forgive the not learning?
And I think that's the question that Simon's asking is, from McCullum's point of view and how good he's been in changing the mentality. But if you're losing the big series, and England have probably got 2 big series as the world in England's formats of 2 big series, England against Australia, England against India, India against Australia. That's world cricket when it comes to the powerhouse. And England have lost both times against them home and away. So because of that, that's where, if they're not learning from mistakes, you might have to change. Brendan McCullum once said in the IPL, if you can't change the man, change the man. Basically saying, if you can't change his mentality and he keeps making the same mistakes, then you
following on from that, Steve, why would you be so unhappy that he goes? I mean, he's created this revelation of spirit and this freedom of play, but he can't get it across the line in the big tournaments. He won't change the perspective to be able to achieve it. Surely you would be saying, I'm surprised that you'd say, I'd be distraught if he went, because that, to me, is a limitation of the coach.
But I'm saying it because I think he's brought more good points to English cricket than bad points. I just think in the big games, he's took England. England had won one Test match.
But we only care about the Ashes, don't we? I mean, Harmy.
That's all we care about. So
and he can't deliver.
For me. So for me, I mean, what he's brought to English cricket, I think, has been positive. But we've lost against the big teams, and we talk about baseball with brains and keep making the same mistakes. And I think that is the thing that I think a lot of people want to change, and I don't think Brendan will change. I don't think he not so much knows how to change, because I'm sure he does. Brendan's come from New Zealand culture where you stick with the players you've got because you really haven't got anybody else. 5 million people in New Zealand, a great sport and culture, and you give people more chances than. I think you look at this side, the team that got beat 4-1 tomorrow afternoon. 5 out of the 6 are going to be in the top 6. You know, 5 out of the 6. You know, Crawley, Duckett, Root, Pope, Bethel.
Yeah,
they're all in the top 6.
Okay, now Steve, before you leave us,
he's not changing.
Before you leave us, remember there's a curfew on. You got to be in bed before midnight, and that includes you.
To be fair, Jim, I'm really struggling to ask any of the England players about a drinking culture, because I starred heavily in a lot of them films. I really did. I played a supporting act quite a lot, but I starred in quite a few as well. So there's not a drinking culture.
Steve, just quickly, would it be fair to say, because this is probably one of the fittest, healthiest cricket, you know, sports evolved. I mean, compared to the years and decades gone by, this group are as fit and healthy as anybody, no?
I 100% agree with you, Danny. They're fit, strong, they're mentally, you know, because they move across formats, a hell of a lot better than what they did time gone past. But unfortunately, with 24-hour sports news, social media, and everybody, an expert that's got a camera phone, catches you when you've got a beer in your hand. All of a sudden, when you lose, there's a drinking culture. When you win, you've got great team spirit.
No, but come on, Steve. It's about professionalism as well, isn't it? You bowled a few bouncers in your time, but Harry Brooke was struck by a bouncer after being refused entry to a nightclub. I mean, you know, they've got to clean up their act, have they not?
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, there is a line. There is a line you can sort of go alongside, especially touring life. There's a line you can go alongside, and if you cross it, you need to pay the consequences.
Okay.
And Harry has paid the consequences. I think he's lucky to be still England captain, and I think he knows that. And it's about him changing as well as McCullum as well.
Okay, midnight Harmison, not a minute after it. Thank you very much indeed. And remember, talkSPORT 2, the first ODI beginning tomorrow. It's 12:30.
told Thomas Frank is set to be in charge of Spurs at Burnley on Saturday. The under fire head coach insists he is building something.
Now we need to build on this, and I just see a team that is running very, very hard, and I think that's a very, very good sign. That's a healthy sign of a culture, and we are building something a little bit step by step.
The win over Dortmund leaves Tottenham 4th in the Champions League table. Meanwhile, Pep's told us the dynamic at Man City needs to change quickly. They lost 3-1 at Bodo Glimt and will need to beat Galatasaray next week to avoid a February playoff. No such worries for Arteta's Arsenal, though, who talksport's Alvin Martin says could rival the Invincibles.
Every player that he brings on is full of confidence. Every player that he takes off and he gets it right. You know, they don't complain because they all buy into what he's trying to do.
Meanwhile, Harry Brooks said sorry for that altercation with a nightclub bouncer ahead of a disastrous Ashes tour, and he's backed Brendan McCullum to stay in a job.
He's the best head coach I've had by a million miles. He makes you feel like you can go out there and do anything. He gives you the freedom to do anything.
And Emma Raducanu will go away and reevaluate her game after crashing out of the Aussie Open in round 2. More at talksport.com.
For Super Bowl 60 on talkSPORT.
Okay, listen up. The Super Bowl is just a few weeks away. We're sending one of you and a mate to San Francisco on the 6th of February to see it live. Flight, 3 nights in a hotel, spending money, 2 seats at the game, the biggest event in sport, and you can be there. For your chance to win, text WIN to 83338. Text costs £2.50 plus your standard network rate. The number to call is 0343 418 7260. Lines close tomorrow at 4. That's when you'll need to answer your phone if it rings. 18 plus UK residents only. It's a network promotion. Terms, conditions at talksport.com. For your chance to win, text WIN at 83338 right now. Into the final half hour today. Jim White, Simon Jordan, Danny Murphy live on talkSPORT. Guys, we've got round to talking about this. It's taken us a bit of time, but we feel we should. In a string of posts on Instagram, the eldest son of David Beckham's family, Brooklyn, has accused his parents, David, Victoria Beckham, of controlling behaviour, and he has declared that he has no intentions to reconcile with his family. He says, amongst other things, I've been silent for years and made every effort to keep these matters private. Unfortunately, my parents and their team have continued to go to the press, leaving me with no choice but to speak for myself and tell the truth about only some of the lies that have been printed. He says, I don't want to reconcile with my family. I'm not being controlled. I'm standing up for myself for the first time in my life. For my entire life, my parents have controlled narratives in the press about our family. The performative social media posts, family events, and inauthentic relationships have been a fixture of the life that I was born into. And this line, my family values public promotion and endorsement above all else. Brand Beckham comes first. Family love is decided by how much you post on social media or how quickly you drop everything to show up and pose for a family photo op, even if it's at the expense of our professional obligations. Now, David Beckham's in Switzerland at the moment in Davos for the World Economic Forum. He didn't speak specifically about son Brooklyn's post, but he talked somewhat circuitously, if you like, about his children and the dangers of social media.
I've always spoke about, social media and the power of social media, for the good and for the bad. The bad we've talked about with what kids can access these days, and it can be dangerous. But what I've found personally, especially with my kids as well, use it for the right reasons. I've been able to use my platform and my following, for UNICEF. and it's been the biggest tool to make people aware of what's going on around the world for children. And I've tried to do the same. I've tried to do the same with my children, to educate them. They make mistakes. Children are allowed to make mistakes. That's how they learn. So that's what I try to teach my kids. But you have to sometimes let them make those mistakes as well.
There's David Beckham in Davos, and he's saying about the dangers of social media, Simon. But this is what this seemingly is all about. It's seemingly all about this. What damage, if any, has Brooklyn done to Beckham?
Look, I don't know. I spent a lot of time in Dusseldorf with you, and in between visiting mobility scooter shops with you and orthopedic shoe shops and incontinent pant shops, I found myself compelled to listen to the book, The House of Beckham. And if you read that book, or listen to it as I did, there is nothing more disparaging and vitriolic and contemptuous of the entire Beckham facade imagery, or whatever you want to call it, than that. And what did that do? Nothing. What Tom Bauer wrote, vicious, whether it was accurate or not, I'm assuming it must be accurate, otherwise he would have had it stopped and sued left, right and centre, was an absolute dismantling of all of the public images of David Beckham, his philanthropic attitude, his outlook towards the fact he didn't get peerages, his infidelities, alleged infidelities, and the nature of his relationship with his wife and children. The lot was all in that book. So the utterings of a rather ungrateful young son that would be nowhere in this world if it wasn't for his father's name, and the idea that the young kid has turned around and said, the young man has turned around and said that he was even compelled to give up his name or potentially trade his name in on the back of a deal that was being done by the Beckhams. Your name would be worth about 1p if it wasn't Beckham. So whilst I empathise with the challenges of being in a very public domain lifestyle, and all that goes with it, this has the smatterings and the smackings of a young man that's married somebody else, that has very strong views about their relationship, and potentially a woman that's come into his life and perhaps doesn't like and doesn't engage very well with the Beckham family, and all of this is brought out to dispute. I think it's ironic that he talks about the media curated life whilst issuing a media-based statement. So what do I think of it? I think it's nothing.
So in terms of brand Beckham, no damage?
No, I don't think so.
No damage?
I think some people would say...
I don't want to reconcile with my family.
Some people would say...
My family values public promotion and endorsement above all else.
And that's fine. Some people would say that actually the smart move for the Beckhams would be to lean into this, to suggest that ultimately we're like everybody else. Rather than have these wonderful little shows that they do where they're cooking in their £5 million house in their kitchen and saying we're all relatable, we cook like you, they can actually be even more relatable now, which is suggest that we, like everyone else, have problems in our family. We have an ungrateful little toad of a son as well. And lots of you out there will have the same thing. So I think ultimately whilst, and he's not a kid, and when David talks about the idea that your children make mistakes, he's not a child, he's a grown man. This is not a child. So whilst he has his views and he has every entitlement to perhaps correct some of the narratives, I think it's a rather unfortunate and unpalatable way. How can it be a surprise? David Beckham and Victoria Beckham, their whole image is media-based. There's a lot more substance behind them. I spent a fair amount of time with Victoria years ago, and I thought she was a thoroughly charming person and not in any way related to the media perception of her.
Yeah.
But it is a media-based outlook. People have flaws. People only want to see the best versions of it, and now they get to see something else. So do I think it damages Brand Beckham? Not really, because what is Brand Beckham?
You can look at it both ways, can't you, depending on your own perception of what family life has taught you. I'm not a big believer in blood's thicker than water, and you have this loyal obligation to stay close to family just because they're family. If they don't behave well or you feel like they've mistreated you, fine. I find it sad, really, being a father myself. If I was ever in a position where that happened to me, it just makes me feel sad that hopefully I'll never be in that position. You can never say never, of course, but any breakdown of a parent and a child is a bad thing to hear, and for it to be played out in the public domain is horrible for everybody involved, irrelevant of who's probably more guilty than the other. I believe, my own belief is that there'll come a time where they'll reconcile and have an adult conversation. Generally, I think that's left to the old...
Post-Brooklyn's divorce, I suspect.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't think Brand Beckham equals a precious David Beckham. I mean, we've all had experiences of David. You messaged me in Qatar and said Beckham's over here playing paddle tennis. Come and have a chat. I went over to David, and very, very straightforward. Sure, I'll do you a chat for your show.
I mean, let's be clear.
And he did.
let's be clear, irrespective of how good a footballer was, he would have just been another footballer if Victoria Beckham hadn't come into his life and changed the direction of travel from fashion to other parts of the world, where he crossed the Rubicon to go from just a footballer to being an internationally recognised celebrity. I mean, look, what were the...
Nonetheless, Simon, this is a story about a son and his parents.
I understood. But the Beckham, insofar as it's a brand, is about aspiration. It's not. I don't see Beckham and think of the family values. I see Beckham and think of the achievements of himself as a footballer, of how he's crossed the Rubicon and everything he's done, from whether it's playing for Manchester United, playing for England. He can even sell you the pup of his journey into Real Madrid, which wasn't a massive success for him. It wasn't a massive success in terms of how he played a bit part at Real Madrid. Going to America wasn't a massive success. The big thing about America was Beckham managed to engineer a situation where he got the next franchise across the line. And here he goes again now with Inter Miami. There's been this litany of controversies about David Beckham, whether it be Rebecca Lou's, whether it be his attitude towards peerage, or whether it be his lack of philanthropic attitude and his meanness towards certain things. All of these things have been published. It hasn't made a dent in them. Because people see Beckham and Victoria Beckham, whatever they say about her as a pop star, right, and a fashion icon in terms of a business not making any money, they still see the culture of aspiration.
But ultimately, listen, I don't care what their worth is. They'll have made mistakes as parents. We all do. They'll have my dealings with Bex over the years of playing England squads and stuff. I always found him very friendly, supporting, a nice guy, and I would imagine he's hurting from this massively.
Yeah.
Who wouldn't be?
He'll be disappointed.
He'll be disappointed.
Especially if the boy is saying, and he is saying, I don't want to reconcile.
There's probably a bit of truth on both sides. The reality is that families have problems.
But that's two different questions. It's not our business to be in the territory of how he reconciles with his son and how disappointed he might be. The question was, does it damage brand Beckham insofar as such a thing exists?
No, it probably enhances it.
And I think it enhances it, sadly, because it will make it more relatable. People will turn around and be able to identify with the challenges that people have with children, and the media cycle will run its course and get bored of it.
It will probably end up as poor Dave.
Yeah. Yeah, what an undeserving child.
Okay, we're in the home straight today, and we're live in talkSPORT with Selco, where the trade goes. You're listening to Jim White, Simon Jordan and Danny Murphy on talkSPORT with Selco Builders Warehouse. Check out this month's real deals at selcobw.com. Alex Crook joined us earlier on in the show, and we were talking about the talk of Jean-Philippe Mateta getting to the stage that he wants out of Crystal Palace. And of course, out of Crystal Palace in recent times, we've seen more than a few players now go. And Mateta, seemingly, is the latest one. He's not quite at the stage, we understand, that this lunchtime of slapping in a transfer request. But it's now being reported that the same Jean-Philippe Mateta has now told Crystal Palace that he wants to leave the club this month. So he's made it fairly clear
more or less
that
the same
he wants out, and he wants out now. Simon, if you were at the top of the house at Crystal Palace, and I'm pretty sure I know what's coming here, what would you say to Monsieur Mateta and his agent?
I'd say it's very nice for you. But how does that provide a solution to my particular problem, which is I need a centre forward? And given the fact we've invested in you and given you an opportunity, and for the first 18 months of your contract, you were bleeding useless, I think there's a little bit of quid pro quo here. I know that if he gets up, they all get up, there'll be anarchy, your manager's going, but you don't get to follow that. So you're a contracted player. You've got another 18 months on your contract. Unless you provide me with a solution to your problem, because you're the one problem, not me, I'm happy with you staying here. And if we want to talk again in the summer, we'll talk again in the summer. And if you're not happy with that, then you have the problem. Provide me with my solution then. Because my solution is I will want top money for you and I want a replacement. So off you go with your little agent and come back with a load of solutions.
What would tickle your fancy to get him gone? Amount?
As much as I could possibly get in a replacement that was ready made, lined up. Because I've got a whole backdrop of problems.
Yeah.
Parish has got a whole... Now, the architects of their own downfall. They've created this situation. True. They should have pushed on. They had the money to do it. It's not my job to tell Palace how to spend things, given my ownership of it. But they've got no PSR compliance. They've ridden on the coattails of opportunity for too long now in terms of they've had the PSR bandwidth. You can't bring in top managers and not give them support.
No.
I would always be in the case of trying to defend an owner, and I'm not going against Parish because of my history with him. The Glasner situation, I don't go with Glasner's outburst. I think it's silly. I think he hurts himself as much as anyone else. But
as in perspective,
they could have arrested some of this. They could have dealt with some of this. They could have at least held Glasner's feet to the fire and said, "Okay, we'll back you to a certain degree." They haven't backed him. They've sold whatever money he's got. It's because they've sold. They haven't spent any more.
Mateta's agent, Simon, will say, "Well, Semenyo's gone, Gehi's gone.
I don't care what they've done.
My guy wants to go to Juventus,
and that's fine. And Semenyo's gone because Bournemouth were prepared to do it. And if you want to bring me 65 million quid for
he
your
had a clause,
and he's got a release clause. If you've got a release clause in your contract, then you don't even need to knock on my door, do you? Go get me the number that releases him, and we'll talk about it, won't we? But if you haven't got a release clause, which potentially you haven't, shut up and come back with a solution to your problem.
I mean, players leaving clubs. Players are leaving clubs at this time.
But there's a potential,
and he will hint to that. I would have thought. High-profile players.
Yeah, well, you know, I like him as a player, but he's not well beat. He's done well. He's a streaky player, and he's done well for Glasner. Before that, he wasn't doing particularly well for Roy Hodgson. You know, and this idea that he suddenly arrived. I mean, to some extent, the ridicule that Wilf Zaha got for laughing at him, saying he wanted to be in the French team when he couldn't get him to the lineup of Crystal Palace, was actually right, because he was miles away from it. And now perhaps he's got illusions of grandeur. And if Juventus want to buy him, up you come then and tell me what money you've got, and then maybe I'll discuss it with you. And if it gives me enough time, which it possibly does, to bring in a replacement, then Glasner can have a turn. But he's got no reason to have a turn now, is it? Because he's going anyway.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I mean, this is why I'm thinking. I'm thinking specifically about this agent and how he'd go about it, trying to procure a move for his client, Jean-Philippe Mateta, and he can allude to just the very situation you just described, Simon. Well, the manager has said he's out of there.
But he will do. Of course he will do. But that doesn't alter the position that ultimately the player's under contract. So the agent can do whatever he feels like. He can draw as many Venn diagrams and as many images as he wants to present as to the reasons why his player wants to leave. And that's fantastic. It's not new information. We can all see that. But the bottom line is he doesn't leave unless there's a solution provided to Crystal Palace. Now, it might be and that Parish and his cohorts are prepared to cash in on Mateta. It might be that they might be relaxed about it. They won't like the optics of it, because the optics will be precisely as we're playing it, which is it's all going on at Palace. They're losing their manager, they're losing their players, they're losing their status, they've lost their FA Cup. It's all going wrong. It's not. It's a moment in time. And I know that people like Martin Samuel are forecasting the ultimate demise of Crystal Palace. The next stop is apparently the Championship, because they've won the FA Cup, because all their players will now be leaving and their manager will leave, and the next stop is the Championship, which is a load of old nonsense.
But it's not all going wrong, but it has unravelled. It's fair to say.
But there's no surprise here.
I mean, the Palace board can hardly say, right, same board with Teta. Now, let's have a word with Oliver Glasner. Well, not much point really on that score, is there?
They're not going to talk to Oliver Glasner about it. Oliver Glasner's just going to do his job for 4 months and off he goes. The pastures anew. Same board that put him in. So you've got to give credit for the fact they brought Glasner in. He got you an FA Cup. Managers leave. And you've kept the team in the Premier League for 13 years. Like I said the other day, as much as Palace fans might not want to agree with this, it's a revelation for a club like Palace to be in the Premier League for 13 years. They've stabilised it as a Premier League football club. You know, pinch yourselves. Yeah. Don't lose context of where you are. There's also another question that should be asked is, why don't Blitzer and Harris, and by the way, Woody Johnson, by the way, why aren't they ponying up more money? Why isn't there a new ambition? Textor was right in what he said last summer. He might have gone about things in a slightly better way, but he was right to call out the ambition of Parish and Parish's control over everything. And you would have expected Woody Johnson coming into this, buying out Textor's stake. If Blitzer and Harris don't want to put profit, but they're within side PSR.
My big question to you two is, now that we're at 1 o'clock, are you both off to the paddle court? Tennis.
I don't think it's right for you to talk about active sports that we participate in, given you participate in none yourself.
Oh, well, that's a fair point. That was a bit of a put down, wasn't it? But I take
play bridge or whatever it is you do,
and I take it with dignity. Danny, thank you as always. Danny Murphy with us as always this Wednesday. Mr. Jordan, I will see you tomorrow at 10 as we roll up to 1 o'clock.